man. So these mics you kind of want to put up about a fist away from your mouth.
Do they have like the...
And since we're going to be imbibing, you might want to like just talk around the front of it so you can just kind of like drink. And
Does it have the fat guy filter? So it's not like...
Not too much, but yeah, just we'll try not to heavy breathe.
Yeah.
Too terribly bad.
Yeah, this is smooth, man. It's good.
Good. Yeah, I discovered mezcal when I was down in Mexico City in 2020. Pull that a little close to your mouth. There you go. Yeah, it's like a big deal down in Mexico City, and there's a whole different. I like it because they distill it so many times,
right,
that you can get really fucked up on it.
Oh yeah,
but it doesn't give you a hangover like tequila.
Did you try it pure?
Tends to do. Yeah,
that's like straight gas.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's wonderful.
We went to what was it, 2017? I went to my grandma's funeral, and she's from Guadalajara.
Okay.
So we went to, the whole family got a couple vans, went down to Tequila and did a tour of one of the distilleries down there.
Uh-huh.
And then the guy was like, hey, you want to try it pure? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, and then he was just giving us these little like tiny shot glasses, like didn't even fill it up. I was like,
okay.
Is that it? He was like, dude, just try it.
Yeah.
And I tried it. I felt like he just gave me gasoline.
Oh my God.
You know? But yeah. This is good.
I love Mexico, man. Mexico is such an underrated country, in my opinion. Like, all you ever hear about is it's so scary down there. You're gonna go down there and get killed and kidnapped. And I've been down there over the last 5 years. I've been down there like a half a dozen times.
Right.
Various different places. I've never ever felt unsafe.
Right.
A single time. And I've been places that I consider, especially when I was in Mexico City, well, I would consider to be pretty local places, you know.
Right.
And just the country is so diverse geographically. Like I always thought it was desert, like Cabo type desert.
Right.
But then you go over to the East Coast and it's all like Cancun areas, just jungle, humid. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Dude. That humidity is next level.
And it's getting, I mean, for the last couple of years, it's been getting real diverse, you know?
Yeah.
Like I drive, and we're driving around, you see a lot of different cultures, and there's a lot of, you know, the Asian population down there.
That tripped me out when I was in Mexico City, seeing Asian, like ethnically Asian people, like Chinese Mexicans.
Oh yeah. They speak Spanish. They were like
just knocking
better
it
Spanish
out.
than some Mexicans.
Yes.
I was like, dude, like what the heck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we're so in the United States, just kind of in our own little bubble.
Right.
Like we think that we're the only fucking melting pot in the world.
Right. And we're not.
And we're absolutely, you
Not
go
even
to
close.
Mexico and you see black Mexicans, Chinese Mexicans, Asian Mexicans, white Mexicans.
Oh, yeah.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a time before, it was like right before I joined the Marine Corps. I have a lot of family down there, and my uncle's like an architect, and he does all that. And I was actually going to plan on moving down there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was dating my wife at the time, and it was one of those things where I was like, hey, you know, I'm not working right now. And, you know, so I was like, I might move down there. And that was like a big thing, and kind of went the other way. I obviously didn't go, but I always look back. I'm like, man, I wonder how it would have been if I would have moved down there.
Yeah.
You know, probably still would have been down there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Cause it's awesome. I miss it, man. Cause it's like a reset. Cause when I went for my grandma's funeral, everything from my childhood, you know, cause we'd always visit when I was younger. It's like everything, it was just like a reset for me, you know, and talking to my cousins and my brothers, and it was just like, so like, it was unfortunate why we were there, but it was just like us, like just, I got back and I just felt refreshed. It was like a big, like I took a big, like a deep breath and just like, let everything, like, oh my God, like I need to go back. I need to go back. Maybe we'll plan a trip, dude.
Maybe we will. Bro trip to Mexico. Yeah. They just, the people down there are just so friendly, so giving. Again, like it's just all the stereotypes about what goes on down there are just, in my experience anyway, are just so untrue.
Right.
So untrue.
Yeah.
I never realized that Mexico City is at elevation.
Oh,
Like Mexico City is like at 7,000 feet.
yeah.
And again, Mexico, you always think of like desert and stuff, or be down by the ocean. And Mexico City's got one of the largest temperate rainforests in North America. Just pine trees, and the weather was so mild, and
right.
Oh, man,
it was crazy too, because every time we'd go down there in the summer, it would always like rain. Like their winter would be kind of like our summer.
A little
sometimes.
bit, yeah.
So I was like, Mom, this is like our summer break, and it's like flooding and it's pouring. I'm like, what kind of summer break is this? But no, it was cool. It was a good time every time we went. Just memories, in Mexico.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go back, dude.
Where did you grow up here in the United States?
I grew up in Laverne. It's in LA County.
Okay.
It's just north of Pomona, kind of between Glendora and Claremont.
Okay.
And I grew up. I think we moved there when I was 5, like 87, 88 time frame. Or actually maybe, it was like around 88. Because I remember I was in first grade when I moved to Laverne, because when I was born, my parents lived in Baldwin Park.
Baldwin
Park, dude. Predominantly Hispanic community.
I was just there last week, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Yeah. So grew up there, moved to Laverne, which is culture shock, predominantly white neighborhood.
Okay.
So for me, speaking Spanish at home was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking Spanish at school was comfortable. I knew English. I understood it and I could speak it. It was just more of a comfort thing for me.
Sure.
So first grade, I'm like, speaking Spanish, and these kids are like, there was a few Spanish speaking kids, but all these other kids were like, what? I'm like, culture shock, So I grew up in Laverne, great town, great, it's kind of a soccer community. Growing up, when I was growing up, it was more of a soccer community.
Do you know why you moved to Laverne from Baldwin Park?
Honestly, I don't. I want to say, I think it was my mom and dad's decision. They wanted maybe something better for us.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Baldwin Park's not a bad city.
Yeah.
It's not a bad. I mean, it's got its reputations, but every city I think has its bad areas.
But it's a very kind of blue collar, very everyday.
Every day. But you know what? I think I struggled in school. I think if we would have stayed there, I probably wouldn't have done that great.
Yeah.
In that environment. I probably would be on the other side of where I'm at now.
Too many distractions, a lot of distractions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very many. Yeah. And there was distractions even growing up in Laverne, different distractions, but there were still distractions there.
Yeah.
I just wasn't first of all, I wasn't very into school. So that was, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny because I first had applied to LA County Sheriff's.
Okay.
That was like my first, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally put my big boy pants on, I was like, that was the first department I applied for. They needed my medical records from when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
So I had a doctor in West Covina that we'd always go to. So I was like, Mom, hey, where can I get my medical records? She goes, hey, go to this place. They'll give you your records. So I go pick up my records, and I'm just like nosy, I'm going through my medical records. And I stop at this page, and it was basically the doctor's notes of my mom getting me tested for ADD, ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah. So I hit up my mom. I'm like, Mom,
what's up?
What did you think I was like? She was like, you were just rambunctious. You were a hyper kid. It was your focus. You would focus on something, and then you'd be somewhere else.
Right.
So she's like, I had you tested, and you were, the doctor didn't think you had it, and you were fine.
You were just a kid.
I was just being a boy, like a kid, I was interested in things. My dad always makes fun of me now because he's like, man, if I when you were a kid, I'd give you a bike and you would turn it into an airplane. Like I took things apart.
Okay.
I never put it back together.
Yeah.
But I was that kid that I just want to know how it works.
Yeah.
I want to know how it works,
You would have made a good tweaker.
Probably, dude. Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. I would find something and, but it was cool, man. Like I was blessed. I'm blessed, now. I was blessed then, and my parents were real hardworking, and, I give all the props to them because they wanted, better for us, and they made the move. My dad still brings it up to this day. My dad's 72, 73 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he's just like, he had a 67 Camaro and a 69.
Sweet.
And he had to sell both of them to buy the house in Laverne.
Wow.
And he's just like, even to this day, he's like, man, that I
hurts.
it hurts, He's like, if I had just one of them today, so it's a sacrifice, parents make.
It's a sacrifice parents, fathers, they make 100%. Like, that I don't know when. I think about this quite a bit. I don't know when fathers became this caricature, this joke, like the sitcom dad, like when did we go from
Homer Simpson,
from Ward Cleaver into Homer Simpson,
right?
Yeah. I have a hard time figuring out exactly what time frame that came into, but
it's
the people definitely underestimate the sacrifices that we make.
Oh, they're huge, and you see it like even on social media. A dad pulls in his driveway, sits in his car, and takes 5-10 minutes to himself before he goes in the house. Like that's 100% true
for sure.
Whether my wife always makes fun of me, like you're always in the bathroom. What are you doing there? It's sometimes you just
trying not to kill somebody,
right?
Yeah.
It's just hey, like, and I give, again, Mother's Day was just yesterday. Like I give all the credit in the world to the moms because 99% of the time I would not know what to do if it wasn't for my wife.
Sure.
If it wasn't for her, I'd be lost.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where dads, like, a lot of, like you said, a lot of people don't realize the sacrifice dads make.
Yeah.
And I think as fathers too, like when I take a step back, it's kind of like, I look at my dad's sacrifice and everything he had to do. Like I still remember my dad, he worked for this envelope company out in San Fernando Valley. And my mom worked for the school district. So she did the whole kind of, I think it was like 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, one of those, or 7 to 3, I think it was. But she worked Monday through Friday, basically a day shift. My dad worked, I think he, I just asked him the other day. It was like the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift, right? So he'd get off, he would drive from Baldwin Park to San Fernando Valley, work his shift, come home. He said he would make it home around 1 o'clock. By 2:30, he had to wake back up to go do his newspaper route.
Wow.
So he did a newspaper route. On weekends, he would ref like adult Sunday leagues just to make extra cash, like $60-$70 a game. So he was doing all this, and I'm just like, damn, when'd you sleep? Because I still remember when my older brother was going to elementary school. I wasn't in school yet.
Okay.
We would walk him to school, and we'd come back, and me and my dad would chill and watch TV. So he was also my babysitter during the day. I'm like, when did you sleep? I was like, I know you didn't sleep because now my dad, you put him in a chair, he's out.
He's out, yeah.
We don't take him to the movies anymore because within 5 minutes, he's out.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, when did you sleep when you had to watch me? Because you were doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I know you stayed awake because we'd be sitting there watching Happy Days, Three's Company, all those old school shows that I vaguely remember, and it's just that sacrifice that, he basically was like, I had to do what I had to do for you guys.
We don't even really see it as a choice. It's just you're doing what you have to do.
100%.
You're the responsible. We feel that responsibility towards our family, and it's not even a question of do I want to do this, do I not want to do this. It's just a matter you're gonna do this because this is what has to be done.
Oh, right, 100%.
Yeah,
and it's. I do it now. I mean, but I obviously mom sacrificed too,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, you know, I think the dads get put on kind of the back burner in most areas, you know,
Yeah.
where, you know, it's kind of sad. And you see some dads, you know, like it's unfortunate. Some dads just kind of get tired of it. And
There's definitely a disconnect, and I was having this conversation with my therapist actually just the other day, talking about how prior to World War II, sons and kids were primarily like on a farm with dad working.
right.
So dad was part of the kid's life 24 hours a day,
Right.
7 days a week. And then post World War II, as we moved to a more urban kind of lifestyle, and we were moving away from farms and moving into the cities. Well, now dad was going outside of the home to a place of work.
Right.
And so now instead of me working side by side with dad out in the field on the farm or the homestead, now dad is gone for 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 16 hours a day. And now mom is raising me.
Right.
And so now I've got that disconnect.
Right.
And so now we're on the, you know, third, fourth, fifth generation of dads working outside the home. We're not really sure what it means to raise a kid because our dads didn't know what it meant to raise a kid, and our grandfathers didn't really know what it meant to raise a kid. And so we're becoming more and more disconnected from that.
Right.
And it's an interesting dynamic for boys, especially, that they are now generationally, even though there may be a father in the household, they're being raised primarily by mom.
Mom, yeah.
Most of their teachers are primarily women.
Females, yeah.
So maybe they get to see dad maybe an hour or two a night, maybe after dad just came home from work and he's crushed,
right?
You know, and isn't real maybe interested in engaging or just emotionally available or what have you.
Yeah.
And you get that chasm. And so I think that kind of speaks as to where the state of being a man in 2023 is. Like we're having a really difficult time remembering what that's about, myself included.
Yeah, I mean, times are definitely changing.
Times they are changing.
Just turn on the news, man, and it's something else, you know.
Yeah,
it's what's. I mean, what are they gonna come up with today? You know,
good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Yeah.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Siblings, brothers, sisters.
I was the middle child.
Ooh, the middle child.
Yeah, you know, that's part of the Oreo, man.
That troublesome middle child.
Yeah, I lived it up to the T, man. You know, my brother, I have an older brother. He's a federal agent here locally, and he set the bar, you know, very high. He was.
How many years between you guys?
He's 4'2".
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there's two years between me and him, and then my little brother, there's 4 years between us.
All boys.
So, all boys.
Your poor mother.
Yeah, she was a busy lady.
Wow.
So,
but well protected.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, my dad was in heaven.
I bet. Yeah.
So, but you know, we're very boy heavy, you know. My older brother has 3 boys.
Okay.
So I was like, when it was, you know, when I found out I was gonna have a child, I was like, what are you having? I was like, it's a boy.
Duh.
Yeah. You know, I'm like, I don't even have to go. Like, I already know. My wife's like, oh, we're doing this gender reveal. I'm like, I already know.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't waste my time.
And we went to one of those like 3D things or whatever, and you're getting off the topic here, but the lady's like, you guys want to know what it is? And I was like, yeah. And she starts typing, and I see the G. She hits G, and I was just like, oh my God.
Way.
Like karma.
Yeah.
Karma at its finest, you know?
Yeah.
And I legit, and I still apologize to my wife today. I was like I was legit upset for like 24 hours.
Really?
I was very mad.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. Like, if the first one was a boy, you can give me 20 girls. I wouldn't care. I just wanted that older brother.
Yeah.
You know? But my daughter's here. Like, you know, wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, it's like, it's so cool to have like just that. And I have both now. So I went girl, boy, girl.
Okay.
So my middle child's a boy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a rule. I was like, you know, my wife's grandfather, when I first met him, I was like, this guy's in the military. He was military, prior military. But no, he just grew up in the 50s, was a football player.
Okay.
Just, you know, that old school. He was just very stern.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 girls. I was like, I don't want to end up like your, you know, like your grandfather.
Yeah.
Because he was a man's man.
Yeah.
He was old school. Like he was a man's guy, dude. Like he was just, you know, and he had to live with 6 girls, including the wife, you know?
Wow.
And I was just like, dude, like, I understand now. I was like, so I had a rule. I told my wife, I was like, if it's a girl, that's fine. But if we go girl, we're done. I will adopt a boy. From day one, I knew I was like, I will raise a boy.
Wow.
That was in my heart. Like, I will raise, even if it's not mine.
Yeah.
But I lucked out on the second one. So I was like, hey, we're good, you know?
Wow.
So
that's cool.
But yeah, going back. So I have older brother, lives locally. He set the bar super high in high school. He was very academically he was like, I wouldn't say straight A's, but very close.
That
you know?
son of a bitch.
Yeah, asshole. So when I had the same
Why
teachers,
can't you be like your brother?
Dude, you know how many times I've heard that like in high school, and then like they would. I'm sure we had some of the same teachers, so they'd be like, oh, like Javi, you know, was a great student. I'm sure his brother's gonna be great, and I was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You know?
I kind of feel like my girls probably experienced the same thing.
Right.
I haven't really talked to my youngest daughter about that specifically yet, but yeah, they were only 2 years and a month apart.
Yeah.
And so they, you know, all the same teachers, all the same experiences, and so I'm sure my youngest daughter probably felt a lot of that same pressure, because for whatever reason, school seemed to come pretty easy for my oldest daughter.
Right.
It sounds like it did for your brother. Like she could just sit down and write a paper with no problem, and you know, she was pretty much a straight A student. And for my younger daughter, it was a little bit more work.
Right.
You know, she was still super successful, but there was definitely more effort had to be put in. To that. Yeah.
I definitely had to put the effort in, because you could see it too when they'd always be like, oh, Barrera, like Javier's brother. I'm like, yeah, but don't.
I'm not him.
I'm not him. I'm nowhere close.
Yeah, they got those big stars in their eyes. Oh, yeah, Javier's brother.
Like, you know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he set the bar. He set the bar high. You know.
Yeah.
And he's very successful, great, very loyal dude. You know. You know. So he set the bar high, and then my younger brother, he did great in school.
Yeah.
You know, and you know he lives in Germany now. Just, you know, met his wife. He worked for a airline company at LAX.
Okay.
She was an intern. They met, and I remember he was just like, dude, like, she's got to go back to Germany. He's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, is she the one? You know,
Yeah.
He's like, possibly. I'm like, dude, what do you have here?
Go figure it out. Yeah.
I'm like, you have us. we can always go and visit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can always come and visit. You know, it's not like if you had your own family here, that might be different. But like you don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
You're figuring it out. Go to Germany and see if you like it.
Sure.
You know, and he absolutely loves it. And I have a nephew and niece there now too, and it's, you know, it's cool to see them grow up. And I always tell people, being the middle kid is kind of cool, because my little brother and my older brother, they can hang out. Like, we're older now, so like, you know, even younger, we can hang out. But like, I got to experience both. So like, my older brother never got to experience an older brother. You know, my little brother never got to experience a little brother.
Yeah.
I got to experience both. So it's like, you know, it was kind of
that's a great point, man.
It was awesome. Like, you know, I had the older brother always there.
Yeah.
I had my younger brother always there. So like, I kind of felt like I had the protection of my older brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had to like protect my little brother.
Yes.
But it was just, you know, like I said, man, my childhood was cool, you know, like I had the struggles of school and stuff, but we got through it. And, you know, cause you know, I can vividly remember watching my older brother, like watching the Laker games when like Van Exel was playing and all those guys, and he's doing homework, and my mom would be like, David, where's your homework? I was like, oh, I didn't have homework today, Mom.
That sounds like me. What homework? I don't have homework. Yeah.
Knowing I had homework.
Of course.
But I was just like, you know, I remember in high school, like I had this science teacher. She was weird, bro. Like she swore she got abducted by aliens and stuff. Well, now with everything coming out, she probably
maybe she did.
You know?
Yeah.
But I remember with her, like me and my best friend, we would always just talk to her. She'd be like, "Oh, did you guys turn in your assignments?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's in the stack or whatever." And we'd be talking to her, just, you know, chatting her up and stuff. Yeah. She probably didn't. I mean, this lady was kind of weird, dude. Yeah. So she probably didn't get much conversation on the outside of school.
Yeah, she was just thrilled somebody was talking to her.
Yeah. So then we were like, "Oh yeah," and then like we would see the assignment book, and my buddy would just like fill the stuff in, you know, like kind of do that, and it was, you know, I mean, I did do homework and I did do projects. I do remember doing that, but I just didn't do most of it.
See, this is why I was completely opposite of you. I never wanted boys.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to have girls.
Yeah.
Because boys do dumb shit, man.
Yeah, they do.
I remember being that age and just doing dumb shit. Yeah. And when you would say, why did you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. And it's not bullshit. Yeah. Like we really don't know. Yeah. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah. I wanted to see what would happen.
I understand now it's stupid. Yeah. I can't explain why I did it.
Yeah.
You know, but then by the time I started having kids, like boys can do something stupid and end up in prison.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you're doing 5 to 10. So right. See ya. So yeah, I was stoked. I was stoked to have girls.
But. Yeah, no, girls are cool, man. Like I still remember one time we were in Laverne, and for some reason I got it in my mind. I wanted to see what would happen if I took scissors and I cut the lamp's cord.
Nice.
That was plugged in.
Yeah.
You know? So I did it.
Yeah. You're not going to burn down the house. You'll be fine.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then I think my dad was watching TV or whatever, and he hears this pop.
Yeah.
And I just see a spark, and I freak out. So I go running, and my dad comes in the room, and he has these scissors that have this little burn mark. And he was like, he's just looking at me, and he's like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
You know? And I was just like, I don't know. I just wanted to see what would happen, you know? Yeah. And that happens for, obviously, for, like you said, boys are just, I don't know why I did it.
Famous last words. Yep.
Yeah. You know? Let's see what happens.
Let's see what'll happen.
Right? Yeah, let's flip the coin. But
see? That's how America was built. Let's see what'll happen.
Yeah.
That's how we invented all this great shit. Let's see what'll happen.
Yeah.
What happens if you split the atom? It'll be all right.
We'll find out.
What could happen?
There's only one way. There's only one way to find, and you have to find out.
Yeah.
Like, well, it could go this way. Well, let's just do it and see who's right.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, man, it was cool. My dad was a trip growing up, you know? I just always like, one thing I remember about my dad growing up is he would always listen to what was that radio station? It's like KFWB News 98 or something.
Ooh,
like I just remember that because, and he was an avid coffee drinker.
Okay.
Right. So like I got suspended a lot also when I was younger. So it wasn't the first day of first grade, but it was probably within the first week or so. Mm-hmm. I remember I punched this kid, right? This kid that I punched.
The first week of school, you're already punching a kid?
You got to remember, first grade, I was coming from Baldwin Park.
Oh, so now you're the new kid.
I'm the new kid. I don't know very many people. Felt intimidated. Yeah. I saw this kid, punched him.
Was established some dominance.
Right, yeah. The kid ends up being my best friend all through like elementary school. Though.
Funny how that happens, yeah.
And what's funny is in high school, dude, like, I mean, I'm a bigger dude right now, but like in high school, I was like super scrawny, super skinny, you know, and that guy that I hit ends up, we kind of went our separate ways. We were still like cool with each other and stuff, but he had his group of friends, and I worked my way around. I was like friends with everybody, but he got swole, right? And in my high school yearbook, it says like, "Hey, remember when you punched me in first grade? You want to try it now?"
Yeah,
and question mark. I was like, it was a joke, but I was like, nah, dude,
we're good.
We're good, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we're good.
Yeah. How old were you when you finally started getting your man weight?
Dude, it was probably
like I can specifically remember like I had a 28-inch waist till I was damn near 30 years old, man.
Yeah, dude. It was definitely after. It was a couple years after high school.
Yeah.
I was probably like 21, 22.
Yeah.
When I actually started putting on weight,
Yeah.
you know?
I think I was like 175 pounds until I was, in my late 20s for sure.
Yeah. Because, I mean, after high school, man, like sports stop unless you're like, you play in like an adult league or you go to college and play sports, you know? And
you're not burning off all those calories.
Yeah, you know? Because, I mean, I look at it now with my kids and I'm like, dude, they're go Monday through Friday, and then you got tournaments on weekends.
Yeah.
You got games on weekends, and it's just like, dude, like my kids are at that age where right now where my wife's like cooking dinner and we're running out, and she's just like,
you just can't keep enough food in them, man. They're burning like 5,000 calories a day.
Yeah, so she's like, mental note, next time I make this dish, make double it or whatever, because these kids are they're at that age where it's skyrocketing, you know? And I mean, look, I like to eat, bro, you know? So it's like, she's got to feed me. I always joke around with her because I'm like, I'm your fourth child. Yeah, you know,
for sure.
Like how we go and people are like,
you're like her fourth and fifth and maybe fifth, sixth child.
You know? Yeah. So she's like, people always ask like, how many kids do you have? I'm just like, oh, she's got 4. You know, because I'm just a big kid, dude. Like I like to keep that mindset, you know, and like Peter Pan's one of my favorite movies. Just never grow up, you know.
That's awesome.
But you got to keep that mindset, you know. Yeah. But yeah, like going back to my dad, you know, it was funny, like always growing, or when I would get suspended, he would always pick me up from school. And it was just always like the same, like I always knew. Well, so that day when I punched that kid, he walked in the principal's office and he's just like, what happened? And I'm like, I punched that kid, you know. He just shakes it, no words, just all right. And then he goes in there, talks to the principal. He comes back out. He's just like, doesn't even say like, let's go. He just points to the door. I'm like, all right. So we get in his truck. And I lived like, I think it was like 3 blocks from the school. Okay. Like as I got older, I was able to walk home and walk to school. And we're driving. And I just always remember that drive home, even from middle school when I get suspended, I was just smell his, like, the coffee on his breath. He's listening to the news on the radio. We're not talking, and I'm just like, dude, I'm gonna get fucked up when I go home. You know? Like, I was already thinking about like where's my hiding spot? Like, where am I gonna hide? Okay. You know.
So there were consequences.
There was definitely consequences. You know, it was but it was disciplined consequences. It was the belt. You know, it was like a hand or like. You would spank me, you know, because I fucked up. Yeah. But my dad and talking to him at an older age, and he would now he just laughs at it because I was like, I know what you used to do, and he's like, what? I'm like, because he would make me go to my room, and there's times where he would come right away and spank me, and that was it, and he'd be like, oh, you're grounded. The cool thing about my parents is they would always tell me I'm grounded, but they would never hold me to it. You know, as a kid, that's great. Sure. But I still got spanked. That was my discipline, you know? Yeah. But sometimes he would make me go to my room and he would make me wait. So I didn't know when it was coming. You know, like the last time he did it, he came right away. The second time he would wait like 20 minutes and then come in. The next time he would wait, you know, longer, and then
fuck with your mind.
Oh, dude, I'd be sitting there like, you know, I'd be like trying to hear him, you know, like, where's he at? Is he watching TV? Is he in the kitchen? I'd be trying to listen to him, and then when I hear him, I'm like, fuck, it's coming, you know?
Yeah.
But I love my dad, dude. He was cool, man. He's a good dude. But yeah, just the memories of, you know, the drive home and, you know, it was just a trip, you know, it's just different too. Different styles, you know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, you know, things were a lot different, you know, things were a lot different. Now I always tell people, cause I'm like, dude, look how much has changed. Just think about in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just, and it goes faster and faster. You know,
right?
I mean, I'm sure every generation says, you know, it's different than it used to be, and it is. But you know, just the way our technology is just moving so fast,
right?
And it's just it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see where our country's at in another. I don't know. Let's say, I mean, I'm 50, almost 53. Let's see where we're at in another 53 years.
Right.
You know, I mean, I grew up in a time before. You know, before like color television, you know,
right.
I mean, we only had like 3 channels and before video games and before the internet. And I mean, like my daughter doesn't even know what it's like to live without the internet. She has no idea what that's about. And your kids are going to be the exact same way.
Right.
And I'm almost to that age now where technology is about to get past me.
Right.
Like I'm able to work it now. But I can feel I'm almost at that age where I'm just going to be too slow for it, and it's just going to fucking take off, and I'm going to be left in the dust.
Yeah, me and my wife, we always want to do things like, so my youngest daughter had like it was like a back to school party or something, and it was 90s themed, you know. So I bought a shirt, and it's a cassette with a pencil.
Yeah, man.
And it says "You wouldn't understand."
Yeah.
You know,
they're like I don't get
it. And I know there's like TikToks out there where parents are like, they would show them like a cassette, and the kids are like, "What's that?"
I've seen some where they show them like an old rotary phone.
Yeah, like
they're like, how the hell you make a call on that?
Yeah, it's hilarious, you know. Yeah. But it's a trip because I remember having a pager,
right?
You know, I remember not having a phone.
Yes,
cell phones. I think obviously cell phones were around, but I don't remember. They're not as prevalent. Like, I mean, I
was around when the very first cell phones came out, and I fought it for a long time. I was like, I'm not getting a cell phone. It's just a nag device. I don't want anybody to be able to get a hold of me.
Right.
And now, I mean, this was like 1998, 99, 2000. And now it's like, if I didn't have a cell phone, I just don't know how my life would function.
Right.
Like, it's everything.
Right.
If I lose my phone, I am fucked.
Oh yeah. Speaking about losing phones, see how mine's cracked?
Yeah, man.
Yesterday I'm getting gas, leave it on the top of my truck, and I drive off.
Oh.
So I'm like tracking it on my phone. I'm like, it showed on the on ramp.
No way.
And I'm like, I was telling my wife, I'm like, someone has it. They just got on the freeway and hopped on, you know? So then I check it again, and I'm like, it's still on the on ramp.
Still there.
I'm like, let's go check the on ramp.
Nice.
It was still there, dude.
Wow.
I was like, my heart was just like, but see, it's just materialistic stuff. I could have got a new phone.
Totally.
But the pictures and the memories of all of our trips are on there.
Yes.
And it's just like 2 weeks ago, I told my wife, I need to upload those.
I need to back this up.
I need to back it up.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's just like, I was like, I'm taking it as a sign.
Yep.
I need to back up the photos.
Yep.
You know, because if that happens again, I'm SOL.
100%.
You know? So lucky to find those, but yeah, man, you know.
So what took you to the Marine Corps?
Oh, back to putting in for LA County Sheriff's. So growing up, I was a fire explorer for the city I grew up in, for Laverne.
Okay.
I was a fire, wasn't very long lived. But I was like, hey, you know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a firefighter. I want to be a firefighter. Took a couple college classes after graduation. But again, maybe my mom was right. Maybe it was that ADHD kind of kicking in, because I'd be sitting in class and I took night classes. But I'd be sitting in class, and then my friends would text me like, hey, dude, we're drinking or partying over here. And then I wouldn't even be paying attention in class. So I'm like, I'm wasting my parents' money, because I would like literally get up in the middle of class and just leave.
Okay.
You know, so I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
So I was just like, kind of, maybe the fire thing isn't my thing.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe it piqued my interest when I was younger, and I'm over it, right?
There's too much learning.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, and that was another thing too, because at that time, because that was when a lot of the agencies were transitioning. That there used to be just straight firefighters,
right?
And then there was paramedics. This is when they were transitioning to like firefighters and paramedics. They were one. So they were sending a lot of the firefighters to paramedic school.
So what year was this?
This was probably 02.
Oh, wow. Okay.
03 time frame.
Okay.
So then I just kind of lost interest in that. And I was like, well, what can I do? Like, so I just kind of one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for the LA County Sheriff's Department. So I applied, and I remember I was going to meet for my background investigator for the first time out towards West Covina area. And it was just like, cool. Like I bought new slacks, new shirt, got it dry cleaned, was looking on point, showed up to my meeting with her. And she was like, for the lack of it, she was a total bitch, dude. I showed up and she was like, do you know what an iron is? And I was like, yes, ma'am. She goes, obviously not. Oh, it was just a bet.
So dude, the academy's already started. There was definitely a time when they departments made you work for it, man. There was no like, oh, hey, yeah, we'll start your back. No, they made you work for it.
And this was probably, this was 2006.
Yeah.
So I went in and I was just like taken back. I was like, oh my God. I had no military experience.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, like it was like a shock, So she was going through my stuff. And then she was like, have you been honest with us? And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She was like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like, well, what? So after high school, I played soccer in high school. After high school, I played a couple years in this adult league in Baldwin Park. And it's one of those beer soccer leagues, stuff like that.
Sure.
Stuff happens. And I wouldn't say I would, one incident where there was like a full on fight, but she wasn't talking about this. So this was just an incident where there was pushing and shoving. Cops didn't even get called. It was
just no big deal.
It was no big deal. Right. So then she was like, well, what about this fight in this soccer league? And in my mind, I'm like, how the fuck did she know about that?
Right.
I was like,
who
what?
Told?
Someone ratted me out. So then I was like, oh yeah, that like, there was no punches thrown because there wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just pushing and shoving. I think someone across the street from the house called the cops. The cops went to the league and our names were given, for both teams. So I was just like, it was nothing, So I got DQ'd for omitting that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I legit left that interview and I went straight to the recruiting office. Right.
No kidding.
So I walked in, sat down with my recruiter. She was totally cool. I was like,
is this something that's been in the back of your mind at all? Or you just lost your shit and like, no, I'm going to go join the fucking Marine Corps.
So what's funny is when we graduated, my best friend and we convinced our parents to let us take a semester off. Okay. I highly, highly don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Because the odds are you're not going to go back to school.
Once you're out, you're out. It's hard to go back, man. Just stay in.
Yeah, stay. Just knock out those 4 years or however many you want to do.
Yeah.
And just stay. Because we convinced our parents to do it. They were fine with it. And then one day, and I mean, I started drinking with my dad at an early age. Not proud of it, but it is what it is.
I mean, like 12? Or
no, not 12. Probably like 16, 17.
Okay.
And I'll remember it because I remember he was having a bad day, and me and my friends, we had gotten some alcohol from another friend that was older, and we were in my mom's backyard, and my dad had came out, and we were like trying to hide it, and we were playing cards, and we were trying to hide it, and then so I was just like, you know what, screw it, he's gonna see. So I grabbed it, and I mean, I think we were drinking Bud Light, But I put it on the table and he looks at me and he's just like, do you have another one? There it is, boys.
Right
so I gave him one, and all my friends put their stuff on the table, and it was that he was our guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all throughout high school, my dad was the dude. You know, he was responsible with it because it was only at my house.
Sure.
I couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
He would not let even my friends. We couldn't go
Better
anywhere.
to have you doing it at home, supervised in a responsible way, than to be out at the park getting hammered.
Right.
Getting
And that's the
into
one
a
thing with
bunch
my
of
friends.
shit.
They always knew, like, and all my friends call my dad Poppy.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? It's like, hey, if Poppy is here, like, he's not going to let you leave.
Yeah.
And they understood that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was started drinking with him at an early age. And so so we graduated high school. We took the first semester off, and everybody was at school. My little brother was at school. My older brother was at college. My parents were at work. My buddy Jeff spent the night. And dude, it was like 9:00, and we were both like, dude, I want to drink. So we found my mom had this like huge bottle of champagne. It was probably like 4 or 5 years old. It was probably not good to drink.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we drank it. And then
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, like, you know, so we drank it, and then we're watching TV, and an Army commercial comes on. And I go, bro, let's go to the Army. They have a buddy system, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's about to retire from the Army next year. And it was like my idea. Like,
Gotcha.
So we did the MEPS thing, we did the ASVAB, we did all that. And then when it was time to sign, he signed. And then I was just like, dude, I hadn't even talked to my parents about it.
Oh.
You know, so I was like,
hey, bro, I thought we were just joking.
Right? Dude, these guys were showing, you know how recruiters are, bro.
Yeah.
They were showing up at my house.
Yeah.
They were like they wanted me to go.
Yeah, they need those numbers, son.
So I didn't end up going. He went, and it's been a blessing for him. Beautiful family. He's about to retire soon. And then I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, you know, mijo, like, I think you can go to school. I think you can work, you know, just think about it, whatever.
2006, man, that's the height of the GWAT.
Right.
There's like some serious shit going down.
Oh, I know, dude.
Yeah,
I know. Because I always think about it. I'm like, man, if I would have gone to the Army, I probably would have gone in as like a grunt. Like
for sure.
You know, infantry. You know, I wasn't at that mind, like the certain, you know, stage in my life where it's like, okay, let me think about career wise, you know?
Right.
So I started working, you know, did the whole school thing, didn't work out, you know, whatever. So I applied for the sheriff's department. That happened, went straight to the recruiter. And at that time, my friend was helping a recruiting station. So I was like, hey, bro, I think I'm going to join the Marine Corps. You know, and people always ask me, like, what made you join the Marine Corps? I was like, I'm not smart enough to join the Air Force. You know, my ASVAB score is wasn't high. It was high, but it wasn't, you know, Air Force standards.
Sure. And
then I was just kind of like, dude, like, honestly, when I was a kid, the dress blues, bro. Like,
there's nobody cooler than a United States Marine, son. Dude.
You know, I always said, like, if you get everybody in their dress uniforms, the dress blues stand out.
Yep.
You know, those are just like
panties start dropping,
dude. Right. So I was like, hey, and it's just the Marine Corps. Yeah. You know, it's America's fucking the tip of the spear, bro.
It's like, one of those things. Like, I feel like you don't even need to explain that. Like,
right.
It's the fucking Marine Corps, and even people who aren't in the Marine Corps who've never been, they understand that.
Right. You know, and it's always the guy. Like, I always revert back to like Navy, the guys in the Navy. They always went to buds, but I got hurt.
Yeah.
You know, it's always like, oh yeah, like I thought about joining the Marine Corps. Like, well, yeah.
Like, I was gonna join the Marine Corps,
but you didn't.
Yeah.
You know, like,
bitch.
You know, yeah. Right. But it was, so I had showed up to the recruiting station. My buddy's like, hey, ask this, and this. So basically I was like, I want to be an MP because law enforcement was the way I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to be an MP. I want a bonus because my buddy's like, they have money. And I want to leave after the holidays. This was probably September-ish timeframe.
Of 06?
Of 06, yeah.
And you're how old at this point?
I was 20. I joined when I was 24.
When you were 24?
I was older, dude.
So you were like the grandpa of your boot camp.
No, I wasn't.
No?
No. So the good thing about that is my recruiting gunny, the station gunny was like, he was super cool. He was like, hey, bro. He was like, you're going in at an older age. He's like, so, and you've helped us out a lot recruiting. He's like, so I'm going to promote you. right? So I was like, cool.
You'll come out as an E2.
But
yeah,
it's like when the bonus money, right?
Yeah.
I ended up getting like $5,000. Excuse me. I ended up getting $5,000, but it was like, oh, you'll get it when you graduate. Then when I graduated, I was like, where's my money? They go, oh, you'll get it when you graduate MOS school.
Right.
Graduate MOS school. Like, where's my money?
Where's my money?
You'll get it when you get to the fleet. Like, you motherfuckers, dude. Like, you know? Like, I just
Bitch better have my money.
Like, I got played, dude. Uncle Sam's keeping that money.
Yep, 100%.
So basically, I got everything except she was like, I found money. I found a bonus for you, but you have to leave next week. And I'm like, that's not enough time to get my stuff organized, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up going in November. So I got everything except I had to go before the holidays.
Okay.
You know? So she was like, I found a bonus for you, but you have to leave before the holidays. So I was like, you know, I'll go, you know, let's do this.
Sure.
You know? And yeah, so I went November. I actually went November of 2007. It was 2007.
Okay.
It was 2007. And then I was there throughout the holidays, graduated. Yeah, dude. And then that's where the whole thing started.
Man.
I definitely, the Marine Corps to me, because I was lost, bro.
Yeah.
I was lost. I had no direction, you know, and my wife at the time was my girlfriend. And I was like played with the, you know, the concept of joining the military.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and I dated girls, and I would say the last 2 or 3 girls I dated before her, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about joining the military. And they were always like, well, if you join the military, we're breaking up.
Mm.
And my wife was the first one that was like, I think that would be good for you.
She was in, huh?
She was in it to win it, dude. You know, she's like, I think that'd be a good, you know, put you on the right track to whatever you want to do.
Nice.
You know, even though she broke up with me while I was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, well.
But anyway, so yeah, I joined the Marine Corps, did that, thinking I was going to be the oldest guy in my platoon.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, man. I was kind of like the average age, dude.
Really?
I mean, we had our 17, 18-year-old punks. Those kids were just punks, man.
Wow.
But like, I mean, this guy, I remember his last name was Cotton. He ended up being our guide. He was 32, but he had a waiver because he was prior Coast Guard.
Wow.
So he came from the Coast Guard to us. So, you know, but like everybody was like 22, 23.
That's crazy. Because it was a completely different time. I mean, 2007, you're at the height of the war.
Right.
Whereas, you know, my experience was really during peacetime primarily. Like the oldest guy in our platoon in boot camp was 28.
Really?
And he was older than everybody. I mean, the rest of us were 17, 18, 19 years old, you know? And yeah, we used to call him grandpa and help him fucking on the humps and shit because his body was broken at 28 years old. But yeah, wow, that's wild to hear that. You were kind of middle of the road.
Yeah.
Right there.
And I was thinking I'd be the oldest guy. And I was like, I got a promotion out of it. I'll take it.
They were just taking everybody at that time, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody that could get in, they were getting in.
Yeah. And I mean, it was definitely, I was expecting to go into boot camp and it'd be like the movies, like Full Metal Jacket. But this is the time when like, what was that organization called? Like Mothers of America or something. I can't remember. It was like a bunch of moms that were like, you know,
it's the kinder, gentler Marine Corps.
You know,
bro.
And I remember we had to do something off. We left MCRD. And then we had to come back to the depot. And I remember coming back to the depot and there was like these moms protesting.
Yeah.
But there was also like retired Marines protesting on the other side.
Oh, I bet.
Like protesting them.
Shut up, bitch. Go home.
Dude. And I'll always remember because, you know, Marine Corps, Marines, Devil Dogs, right? So I remember this sign and I just remember this. He was in a wheelchair. He was old as shit, dude. Old as shit. But he was holding the sign. And the sign said, "We want devil dogs, not pussy pups."
Wow.
You know? And I was just like, dude, like, what's going on here? You know? And I remember we had one drill instructor who always like, I think he was like the old school, like the old school mentality. And I remember there was like a younger drill instructor who always had to like grab him by the belt and just be like, hey, bro, like,
the fuck out of here with
back
that.
up a little bit, you know? So I was expecting to go to boot camp and get just kicked in the chest, and it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was rough. It was hard.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, what I was expecting it to be.
It definitely wasn't the experience. Like my dad went to boot camp in the mid 60s.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was the middle of the Vietnam War, and they were preparing these guys to go to war. So they were putting hands on them on a regular basis. It was much different when I went in 88, but I still saw a couple dudes get bitch slapped by drill instructors.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you want to fuck around, find out.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now it sounds like your experience was vastly different than even
100%.
that.
And
which is really unfortunate because, again, you're in the middle of wartime. That's not the time to be like pussyfooting around with people. You're trying to get these guys ready to go do some serious shit.
Right. But see, also, too, when I joined the Marine Corps, my goal wasn't to deploy.
Okay.
So my goal was to get the experience as a MP, get out, because I remember one of the big things LA County was always saying was, what have you done to prepare yourself for this job?
Right. I joined the Marine Corps, bitch.
And what's funny, when I was at boot camp, my mom wrote me a letter, and she was like, hey, you have a letter from the LA County Sheriff's Department. Like, oh, do you want me to open it? I was like, just send it to me. And it was from my background investigator. She goes, hey, after talking it over with my lieutenant, we want you to continue with the process. Yeah. So I send her a letter with, you get the recruit paper.
Yep.
That has a couple Marines on the side or whatever. And I was like, hey, I left your office and I joined the Marine Corps. And then she was like, oh, like she was so cool. She was like, hey, understandable if you get out, let us know. We'd love to continue and you can reapply and stuff like that.
So what was your thought process in 2007? Like you thought you weren't going to deploy?
Because I knew there was jobs. I knew there was jobs that aren't deployable.
Okay. And you thought an MP was going to be one of those?
Yeah. Because I was like, there's cops on base.
Okay.
There's it's PMO.
Yeah.
So went through boot camp. Went through my MCT MOS school. And
how long was the MOS school for that?
It was 3 months, 4 months, 3.5 months.
Okay.
But when I got there, the school was so backed up. So
you had to sit around for a while?
So I had to sit around for almost a month and a half.
That's what I did to my MOS school. I showed up. They were like, you got to go. Like, I graduate boot camp. Everybody else gets 10 days of leave before they show up.
Right.
They're like, no, man, you got to go. Your class is picking up next week. So 2 days of leave. I'm back in fucking North Carolina. And they're like, oh, your class isn't picking up for another 8 weeks.
Oh, shit.
So here's my little fucking... E2 ass on a working party for the next 8 fucking weeks, waiting for my class to pick up.
I didn't do that, man. I showed up to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and it was raining pretty hard. Showed up, checked in. They showed me to my barracks room, and I saw there was probably about 2 other Marines living there. But I was like, dude, there's no one down there. And the guy was like, hey, drop your shit and go down to the basement. Right? And I'm like, all right, motherfuckers. I was like,
I guess we'll go to the basement.
I guess this is what's going to, I was like, it's going down. Right.
So is this even a Marine Corps school or is this
it's a Marine, it's on an Army base though.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I'm like, all right, dude,
let's go.
Let's fucking go. So I drop my shit, go down to the basement, and I see a bunch of Marines and they all have their laptops out. And I'm like, dude, what? I was like, hey, I was like, hey bro, what's going on? He's like, oh, we're in a tornado warning. And bro, I was like, I just want to go back to California.
Yeah.
I was like, tornado what? Yeah. No.
The tornado's right here, man. I thought we were gonna
I'm like, I don't deal with tornadoes, dude. I'll deal with earthquakes all day.
All day, every day.
I seen the Wizard of Oz, bro. Nope. Not happening.
Yeah.
But nothing ever happened. And then so went to Fort Leonard Wood, did that. They were like, yeah, dude, your class is about a month out. I asked if I can go home on PTAD, which is, I don't even know what it stands for. It's basically, I go home to my recruiting station. I help them out.
Right.
Doing
some sort of temporary active duty.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So I came home. My recruiter was like, yeah, I'll let you come home for 30 days. Okay. So I'm like, sweet. So then I told my older brother, I was like, hey, I'm coming home. And then I didn't tell my girlfriend, who's my wife now. I didn't tell her I was coming home. I was going to surprise her.
Surprise. Yeah, you got to be careful with those surprises, son.
Bro, yeah.
You never know what.
So,
surprise. Yeah.
I surprised her.
It might be on you,
and the look on her face, I was like, yep, something's wrong.
Yep.
So that night, she was just like, you're not home. You're not home. And I was just like, fuck, you know? So she was like, yeah, I don't think I can do this anymore. I was like, oh, all right. You know, like, you know, it is what it is. Like I was butthurt about it. I was hurt.
Sure.
You know, but I don't blame her. Looking back, I don't blame her for it. And I mean, I ended up marrying her. So it's like,
yeah, it all worked out for you.
It worked out, right? You know, because like 2 days before I went back to Fort Leonard Wood, we got back together.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had a couple days to hang out with the boys and we got back together and that's all she wrote, you know? So Fort Leonard Wood, what's funny about that is as we were graduating MP school, I became friends with a guy from Texas and then a guy from Tennessee. And they were like, hey, after this little op, we're going to tell you guys where you got stationed. And we're like, cool. So the way they did it was they did alphabetical order from East Coast to West Coast. So they got to Yuma and they didn't say our names. So I was like, hey, bro, like we got Pendleton, like chilling, dude, chilling. You know, we got Pendleton. That's awesome. They said my name. They said both of their names. They said another Marine's name. And they were like 29 Palms, California. They
crapped out,
dude, bro. They looked at me and they go, "Where's that?" I was like, "I don't fucking know."
Oh shit,
dude! I went straight back to my barracks room, flip phone, Googled it. I didn't know where the fuck this place was,
right?
Dude. I lived in Southern California my whole life. No clue where the fucking 29 Palms was.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, but I found out.
Oh yeah.
But when we got there, it was cool because it was non-deployable PMO side, right? So I was kind of excited because I was like, cool, I get to experience, I get to work the road, I get to do this, I get to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know at that time what was going on with PMO because we checked in and the ops chief, who was a staff sergeant, ended up, he was like, hey, 2 of you guys are going to SRT, which is the special reaction team.
Okay.
Which is like SWAT.
Okay.
And we're like, dude, he was like, all the Marines right now that I have here at PMO are dog shit.
And PMO like, stands for what?
Provost Marshal's Office.
Okay.
So he was like, I'm going to give 2 of you new guys a chance to go to
your shot at the big leagues, son.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, I remember I was like, dude, I want to do that. I want to do that. They do some cool shit.
I'll suck your dick. Just send me to the
like,
school.
Just don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
You know, $20, right? So then he looks at my buddy from Tennessee and he goes, you get the first spot automatically because you have the highest PFT score. He was a stud.
Okay.
Kid was a stud.
Fair enough.
He looked at my other buddy and he goes, you are going to write an essay on where you're from, you know, a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to pick from there. So we write the essay or whatever, but then I found out later down that my other buddy ended up getting it, you know? Yeah. And then I found out like the corporal and sergeant or whoever read it, they were from Texas, bro.
Oh, you got to hook up
the Texas guy,
homie.
You know?
Yep.
So then, so he got it. But what's funny is I wanted to do SRT and he wanted to do K-9.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started working the road, I think I worked the road for like 3 months, right? And like the first month I was there, you know, my trainer was like, oh yeah, that's where the kennels are and stuff like that. I was like, oh shit, K-9's right there. Mm-hmm. And originally, if you go to MP school, they have a board at MP school for K-9 and then they'll select, but they told us there's no spots. They're like, K-9's full right now.
Yeah. On
your days off, go in, talk to them, see how you can get a spot, and go from there. So I'm like, cool. I think I had like a day or 2 off in the middle of the week and stuff. And then the weekends I would just come home and spend time with my girlfriend at the time.
Had you always been a dog guy or was this just something
I was always an animal guy.
Okay.
So in high school to graduate, I had to do a senior project and I did it on dog training.
Okay.
So I was always I've always loved dogs, man. You know, cats not so much, but dogs were cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, you know, interested in doing the K-9 thing, and I saw them training, and I was like, I want to do that.
That looks cool.
That looks fucking cool as shit, you know. So I went in there, and I was intimidated, and the guys were super fucking cool. They were like, "Oh, dude, you want to be K-9?" Like,
really?
super great guys, dude.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, man, just come in on your days off, and you know how the game goes. You get
kind of intern, help out, clean up, pick up dog shit.
I'm like picking up dog shit.
Yeah.
I'm putting the bite suit on. I'm cleaning bathrooms. I'm mopping the office.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything, dude, you know? And then, so I was doing that for a little bit. I was doing that for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And then when I hit like the 3rd month, it was kind of funny because, so there was, the way we worked, there were 6 teams total. So teams 1, 2, and 3. So you had a morning shift, a mid shift, and then a night shift. Mm-hmm. And I was on during the day. So then, but it was kind of like the other sides of the house. So 1, 2, and 3 would work, and then 4, 5, and 6 would be off. When 4, 5, and 6 would work, 1, 2, 3 would be off. So PMO comes up and says, "Hey, we're throwing you guys a pizza party at this pizza place." And we're like, "Cool, like we just thought we were gonna get pizza. Like we're Lance Corporals, PFCs. We don't have to eat at the chow hall and you guys are paying for it. Cool."
Okay.
So we show up and I'm still new, bro. Like I'm still a boot. Like I'm fresh, dude, you know? So we're sitting there and I'll always remember this corporal, dude. And I was born and raised a Dodger fan, right? So I always usually wear a Dodger hat. Uh-huh. And I had my Dodger hat on and they're providing alcohol. They're providing beer. So we're drinking or whatever. And this one corporal looks at me just out of nowhere. Like I've never even talked to this guy, right? And he looks at me and he was just like, "Hey, do you think you're hard?"
Here we go.
And I look at my buddies. I'm like, what am I hearing him right?
Yeah.
He goes, "You think you're hard wearing that Dodger hat?" And I'm just like, dude, my buddy from Texas is like, "Hey, bro, let it go.
Yeah.
We're new, bro.
Like seriously? Are we really going to do this?
I'm like, bro, me being me, because like before too, I didn't mention I used to be I was a hothead, dude, growing up. Like,
no.
I was
That's not true.
I was a hothead, dude. Like you look at me the wrong way, I'm gonna say something, you know?
Yeah.
And that was my downfall for a lot of like failed relationships, just like I had this like need and want to fight for some, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you, you know? And so me being me and thinking I'm Superman, you know, I was like, we can go out front and I can show you how hard I am.
As a matter of fact, I kind of do think I'm pretty hard.
You know? So I remember he gets up right away and goes outside.
Yeah.
And there was another corporal at the time and he was just like, "Dude, don't go out there. Don't do this."
Yeah.
Right? And even my buddy's like, "Dude, don't go out there. Like, we're new, dude. You're going to make us look bad." But
yeah.
I go out there. Well, the gunny ends up going out there too. The gunny calls PMO and goes, "Brer, get in the car. He's taking you back to the barracks." You know? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go back to the barracks. But then my buddies are like, "Hey, we left the pizza place. We're at this bar." So the gunny was like, basically stay in the barracks.
Yeah.
And I didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
So I went back out. And then the next day, he found out that I went back out. So he breathalyzed me at the station. Because we worked the next day. Like, why would you have a pizza party and give us alcohol?
Get everybody all hammered, then go work next day. Yeah.
He breathalyzed. And what's funny is this gunny, the hypocrisy of this, you're going to love it. Because this gunny gets dropped off by his wife, right? And I was asking around, I'm like, dude, why is he? He had just gotten a DUI. But he's over here trying to breathalyze me. Yeah, man. It's just, I don't know. The hypocrisy of the Marine Corps is just, it was just, you know.
It's kind of universal. I feel like it's not a Marine Corps thing. It's not a law enforcement. It's just a thing, man. Yeah. Like everybody always wants to hem other people up for shit that they've done.
And I'm like, dude, you did that too, you know? Yeah. Like, so I get breathalyzed. I still had some alcohol in my system. Can't pull my duty weapon. So they were like, what you're going to do today is you're going to go around to every like office and station and you're going to clean the bathrooms, which was a blessing in disguise. I was like, fuck. Mm-hmm. But then, so I'm at PMO's office and the staff sergeant who was the ops chief was just like, "Hey, get in here." I'm like, "Yes, staff sergeant." He goes, "Hey, are you still going to the kennels on your days off?" I'm like, "Yes, staff sergeant." He goes, "All right, go away." So I fucking leave and I'm cleaning the bathroom. Calls my name. Go back in there. Yes, that's right. He goes, you're going to SSD school. He goes, you might go to Israel. Your dog's going to have a camera. You're going to have a little screen on your wrist and you'll be able to see what your dog sees. He goes, go away. I'm like, okay, cool.
And SSD is
SSD's specialized search dog.
Okay.
So backtrack to that. He just told me I was going to SSD school, told me to go away.
Right.
He calls me back. He goes, do you know what that is?
So you come to work with alcohol in your system.
Yeah.
As a penalty, you've got to clean shitters all day long.
Yeah.
While you clean shitters, you get the job that I've
always
wanting.
Wanted. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So he was just like, he calls me back. He goes, do you even know what SSD is?
I don't give a fuck.
I was like, it gets me a dog, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, and then that's when he goes, we might send you to Israel. We might do this. And I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
And then, so he was like, go away. And then, so that's where it started. But the way it works is you're supposed to go to the basic handlers course first at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. Then kind of if you do good there, or if you want to progress, you can go to SSD school, Specialized Search Dog.
Okay.
And the way I explain to people is SSD school is like having a remote control K-9.
Okay.
In a perfect scenario, my dog, Sam, had 2 radios. One was off. It's just for counterweight.
Okay.
One was on. I had a radio. And I would be like, forward. He'd go forward. I'd like...
And he's doing that shit via radio?
Via radio. So this was off-leash capabilities.
Wow.
Because I mean, we took the program from the British, and the Israelis have a very good program, but a lot of our trainers were Brits.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, do you want to be 6 feet from a bomb, or do you want to be 200 yards from a bomb?
100%.
You know?
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
So in a perfect scenario with Sam, and that's a whole nother story how I got him, but we'll get into that in a little bit. In a perfect scenario, training, everything's going right. I could be like forward. He'd go forward. He knew hand commands. I could sit him down at like 100 yards and I'd just be like right, and he'd go right. If I wanted him to come, he'd come back to me, tell him left, he'd go left, remote control dogs. But when you get to Afghanistan, it's not a perfect training scenario. It's doorways and mud huts and, ravines and wadis. And I have a lab. Right. He likes water.
Yeah.
So
and you can't even see 200 yards in some of those.
And then so I was a replacement. We can get into that later, but I was a replacement because one of my partners, who was also a canine handler, he lost his dog off leash because we were just new in the country. He goes on a patrol. They get in a firefight. Dog gets off leash. Dog gets scared and takes off. And,
it's all she wrote.
It's all she wrote, But yeah, that's basically specialized search dog school. But the way it was explained to me, it was like, you're going to go do your junior and senior of high school. And then we're going to send you back to the basic handlers course, basically do your freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
So I went back and it was kind of weird because some of the guys that I knew when I was going through the schoolhouse for SSD school were now like instructors for K-9 school. And I was just like, dang, like I knew them, so like I was already a handler for 2-3 years before I went back.
You went to the basic course.
And yeah, it was like, teach your dog to sit, it's just like, it's like I've already, like
brutal.
It was nice to get out of the, like kind of the unit real quick to get a break and then come back.
Sure.
Because you needed that basic to get because MPs are 5811s. To get that B bill at 5812 of actually being a canine handler, you have to go to the basic handlers school. And what's funny is they always have a kennel masters conference. And my buddy Diaz, he called me one day. He goes, dude, you'll never guess what happened at the meeting. I'm like, well, he goes, your name got brought up. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Me at the kennel masters conference. He was like, they're wondering why you're on a dog and you're not a 5812. So that kind of my kennel master, the gunny there, he didn't like me very much. I had a feeling he wasn't going to send me to get the 5812. But since my name got brought up at the conference, he was forced kind of to send me.
Gotcha. Like, hey, we've got this guy on all this training. How are we now not going to certify him on that?
Exactly. So, but yeah, so I went there SSD school is back to, or actually I did SSD school first. So I did Lackland, came back, and then I had to go back to the basic handlers course, which was just, it was kind of cool because one of my good friends, Diaz, was there doing train the trainers when I was back at the basic handlers course. And
nice.
that was just an unreal time. The Riverwalk in San Antonio, I don't know if you've ever been.
I love that place, man.
Dude,
yeah. I've got some family in San Antonio, and it's been a long time since I've been, but I definitely remember the Riverwalk.
Yeah, legit. Love San Antonio, man. And then being a Marine on an Air Force base,
right,
bro. Like, I had to like sit on my hands, like just hands in my pockets, like don't just behave, dude, behave.
VIP.
Oh, dude, and it's kind of funny. I always tell people because the Air Force, their officers wear their rank on their collar, enlisted or on their sleeve. Marines have their rank on the collar. So it was like everywhere we'd go, we'd get saluted, People like, oh, you wouldn't correct them? I'm like, nah. I'd render a salute right back,
Salute me all you want.
Up, so, but yeah, so SSD school was pretty, it was intense because you basically go to the course, you get 2 green dogs. These dogs don't know much. They're young dogs. They don't know sit, down, stay. I ended up getting an older dog. He was a yellow lab named Pierre. And I got this I really wanted Donna. She was a little small German Shepherd, but she was young. I was just like, dude, I want this dog. I want Donna, But they ended up taking her away from me because she didn't have like a ball drive, like toy drive.
Oh,
you need the dog to work for something.
Sure.
It's his paycheck.
Yeah.
And she didn't have it in her.
Fuck
so
that
they
ball.
were like, yeah. I would pay her and she would just be like, we went in this room. They had this room with all these dog toys and she just could give 2 shits about a toy.
Yeah. I'm just going to go lay over here in the corner and relax.
Like, oh man. I was like, I would have loved to take her, So then, so I just had Pierre, which Pierre was a good dog, he was just he was like mid-age, but he was a good dog. He was a big lab. So then we're going through the course. There was another Marine from, I think, Lejeune, had some legal issues, so he had to leave the course. So they were like, hey, bro, you're going to take his black lab, Reedy, which was another great dog, right? So I was like, it's going to be hard because they gave you 2 dogs. If you graduate with both, you get to choose which dog you go home with. They will give you recommendations like, we think you should go with this dog, because they do like a workup. They see, because you don't get a dog right away.
Sure.
They get to know you, and they already know what dogs. So they go, hey, I think this guy's personality would be good with this dog. So they gave me Reedy. So I had Pierre Yellow Lab, Reedy Black Lab, killing it. There was an Army handler who had Sam. Just a mess, right? I had 2 great dogs. He had 1 shitty one. So they go, hey, they're like, we know you're going to graduate with Pierre, right? So they take Reedy away from me. They say, hey, you're going to have Sam and Pierre, both yellow labs. Reedy's going with the Army guy. You're not going to work Sam. You're just pulling him to exercise him, and that's it. Cool. The final comes. Pierre was having issues. It was my fault. You don't want your dog to know you have the reward. So they're staring at the set. You kind of throw the ball over and they think it comes from God, the heavens. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, one day I was right when I was about to pay him, he turns around and looks at me and I was like,
oh, you got caught, bitch. Gotcha.
Right. So he would just like randomly sit random times and look at me and want me to throw his toy. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
So what we started doing is we started putting these bird launchers, because they're hunting dogs that were just, instead of finding ducks, you're finding bombs. So we're putting these bird launchers in these trees, and he would find the odor and he would look at me and I'm like, I don't have nothing for you, dude, and they would hit the button and it'd shoot the reward out. So I pulled Pierre for our final, and it's like an old barracks room, and he starts false responding on the fire alarms on the walls in the hallways, thinking they're bird launchers. You have 3 false responses on your final, you fail.
He was almost too smart for his own good, huh?
Bro, some of these. So when I went to the basic handlers course, I had this, he was a Mal, huge Mal. His name was Icarus. And the dog knew how to spell because they tell you like to give your dog the command sit. They'd be like SIT your dog command, and then you go sit. Dude, the instructor would be like SIT dog command. He would already sit.
Yeah.
So he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And then my instructor was like, hey, I know Icarus. Like, he's very smart. He's probably not going to find odor because, like, wherever a dog, he goes, watch this. So he had like 3 other students come with their dogs and have them sit. The dog would sit in the same spot. He goes, now go get Icarus. So I would get Icarus, and he sat in this. He was sniffing, and he sat in the same spot. He was just basically sniffing where all the other dogs sat, thinking, hey, they sat here.
So I'm gonna
this
sit
is
here.
probably where the reward is.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, dude, this dog is too smart. You know? He had failed because the dogs at the schoolhouse usually fail in some sort. So they have to use them there. Like, they either fail the detection part or the patrol part, and they'll use them there. But so anyways, back to Sam. So my instructor was livid. You know, he was livid. He goes, you know where all the aides are at? Go pull Sam. I'm like, bro, no. Like, Sam, I've never even worked him. I'm like, dude, like, I've never even worked him on odor. Yeah. I know he has all I knew is Sam had a great nose, but I've never worked him on odor. I've never worked a room with him. I don't, nothing. He was like, you know where all the odors are. You know, I was like, that's still kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You're going to send me to my unit with a fucked up dog?
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that Sam was like a lot younger than Pierre. So I pulled Sam out and we passed. And so I showed up to the fleet with Sam. Bro, this dog, when I would pay him, I'd give him his reward, and he wouldn't come like within 5 feet from me. He just wouldn't come within. He knew, he's like, I got the ball. Like, come get it.
Yeah, I'm not giving it back.
Come get it, bitch. You know, I was like, all right. So when I got back, my buddy Diaz and my buddy Harwell, they were our sergeants, our platoon sergeants. They got sent to Israel to do their SSD course, and they came back with 3 dogs from Israel.
Okay. These
dogs are like fucking dragons, bro. Like, they're like this tall, just beast of dogs, you know. And one of them, Harwell's dog, was a Dutch Shepherd, and Diaz's was, I can't remember what Diaz. I think he was like a Mal mix or something. His name was Dino. But I remember Diaz was like, "Hey, bro, like, I'm certified on the e-collar. Like, let's put an e-collar on Sam," because we never tried that. And I remember like the first time we shocked him, that was game over because he knew I couldn't touch him. When I pay him, he knew I can't reach out and touch him.
Right.
But when he knew I had the e-collar or the instructors had the e-collars,
yeah,
changed his life. He became one of our, like, I would say the best dog. He became one of our better dogs after that, you know? So, and that's who I deployed with. And I was just like, dude,
some people just need strong boundaries, bro.
Bro, I know, man. I mean, he was so hard. Like, he was set in his ways, you know? And it was just like, I was so scared because I'm like, dude, you know, and that was the thing when I got backtrack, when I got told I was going to K-9 school, they're like, you're going to SSD, just let you know that's you can deploy. And I was just like, I was wanting to go K-9 just on base, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what?
Can I go back to 29 Palms?
Yeah. Well, no, I was there, but I was just, you know, and what's crazy is my unit was 3MEF K-9, which is based out of Oki, you know? But they were going to send us to Okinawa. And that's kind of what rushed me and my wife to get married, because it would be unaccompanied if I didn't get married.
Oh, snap.
So we got married super quick. And then they told us, hey, you guys are just going to stay at 29 because the train, we're going to bring the Oki guys over here to you guys, you know? So we're like, cool, man. Like, that, you know, working up to a deployment. Me and Sam failed our first pre-deployment. So my unit deployed without me and a couple other guys the first time. And then we got Sam up to speed, and then we deployed the second time in 2011. So
wow,
yeah.
So then you and your dog are each attached specifically to a unit that you stay with once you deploy?
Yeah. Or? So there was like a handful of handlers before we went to Afghanistan. I already knew who they were going with. Like, there's a guy. He was a stud, dude. This kid was a stud, like, just athletic, really good handler, had a great dog. He went to the SEALs. He worked with the SEALs the whole deployment.
Wow.
Kid's a stud, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just hands down. Ever since he showed up to our unit, everybody was like, dude, that dude. Like,
that's the guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
You know? So he already knew he was going to the SEALs. There was a couple guys already knew that they were going MARSOC. A couple guys knowing that they were going to recon. I went on my deployment. I was like kind of on the bench. I was reserved.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of us were. So get to Afghanistan. We got there at night. So when I woke up in the next morning, I thought like they were fucking with us. I'm like, man, did you guys just fly around 29 Palms for a few hours and then land? Because it looks identical. Dude.
Really?
Like, it looked identical. It's just desert, just a bunch of dust everywhere. Yeah. And so yeah, like I think a week and a half go by, and I get woken up by my kennel master out there, who was different. My kennel master back home didn't come with us, because he's a bitch. But we had a different kennel master who was cool as fuck, and he wakes me up early in the morning. He goes, "Hey, I need you to get your stuff ready." He goes, "You got to go replace this guy." And I'm like, "Is he okay?" He goes, "He's fine. The dog's gone." I was like, "Fuck." Yeah. And again, he got in a firefight off leash. So I was like, cool. So I remember I had a 30-foot retractable, and that's what I just kept Sam on, you know. I was like, I took him off the leash a couple times, going through like cornfields and stuff, because he would just get stuck. And then one time I had to search the road, I took him off. I was like, let's see what happens, you know. But yeah, so we replaced him, and it's kind of hard because it was a recon unit, you know. And my buddy Diaz was with recon at the time, and I was stoked, you know, because he was there. Like, he's my boy, you know. And you know, I always remember the look he gave me, because when I showed up to PB Alcatraz, they were like, "Oh yeah, like Diaz is over there." He was like manning the gun on the MRAP, you know, and he saw me. It was like the biggest shit and grin on his face, like when your boy gets that approval to spend the night, you know, like yeah, boy, you know. So it was like, cool, man. I get to hang out with him for the rest of the summer, you know. And I was kind of already, I already felt awkward going into this platoon, because I was the second handler. I'm the replacement. Yeah. You know, they were already kind of forging a bond with this other Marine.
And then now we got this other scrub coming in.
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, and my buddy who lost his dog, that was a Israeli dog that they lost.
Wow.
You know, that was big.
Kind of a big deal, huh?
Kind of a big deal. Yeah. You know, that dog was kind of hard-headed though too. You know, he was very, very hard-headed. So I'm coming in here, and they had like this aggressive looking dog, and I'm coming in with Sam. Like, hey guys, you know, like a yellow lab, like he's a pet, you know? So, but I mean, I give those guys all the credit in the world, man. Those I was with 3rd Recon. They were very welcoming. They were super cool. We had a SART corpsman. Shout out to him. Like, he was great, man. He showed up. He was like, "Hey man, just to let you know, like, we work on animals too. Like, I know how to, if he ever gets hurt or something, I can work on him." You know, cool. I was like, because they only teach us the basics. Sure. You know, he was like, "Dude, we go into some intensive training," and I'm like, thank God. Like, it just made me feel a little more relaxed, you know. And for sure, everybody was so welcoming, and I was like, I didn't fit in, bro. Like, you know, these guys are like high speed, you know, like they're warriors, like they're recon dudes, you know. And I was just like, I just have a dog, you know, like I'm just here, you know. I wish they would have been able to like put us together in the pre-deployment for them. So kind of like they knew my job and I knew theirs, and we kind of meshed as a team, because you're just getting put on a team and they're like, dude, go to work. Yeah. You know,
what do you want me to do?
What do you want me, and then I'm asking them like, hey, dude, like if my dog does this is what happens. This is what I need from you. This is because like I'm doing the K-9 stuff and I'm still going on patrols with them, you know. But yeah, dude, it was. I mean, they were a great group of guys, dude. I tip my hat to them. They were just so welcoming. They were, you know, and I was intimidated because it was recon, you know. Yeah. Like, I mean, those guys know their shit. Yeah. You know, and I was like, dude, we're gonna do some cool shit this summer, you know, and we did some cool shit, and you know, see some stuff that you're not, you know, the normal everyday human doesn't see, you know, but it's
like what?
You know, it's combat, man, you know. Yeah. You see some gruesome shit sometimes, you know. We were on QRF. Oh, you have the bottle? Yeah, man. I thought you left the bottle downstairs.
No, son.
So one time I was on QRF. Yeah, I can't even think. It was a quick
reaction force.
Quick reaction force. Yeah. So me and Sam thought we had the day off, and I'm sitting in the back of this 7-ton because you still have to be ready to go. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was trying to catch some Z's or something, and then they were like, "Hey," they're like, "Bear, they need you downstairs, or they need you at the front post." I'm like, "For what?" They're like, "I don't know, man. They're just calling for you." I'm like, "Okay." So I go down there, and they have this dude who was a Afghan local national. They had him in this like wheelbarrow, and he was fucked up, right? And then the Tajiman, which is our interpreter, his name was, we called him Fabio, but his name was Jay. He was born in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was like 7'1".
Dude,
long black hair, bro. Just built like a fucking ox, dude.
Uh-huh.
And we dubbed him Fabio, but he lived in like Virginia or some shit, you know?
Okay.
So he was our interpreter. I was like, "Hey Jay, what's he saying? What's this guy saying?" He goes, "Oh, he's saying like this guy's like the village idiot, and he's kind of like special needs, like he's retarded, but like he was fucked up, like shit was fucked. It was just parts, but he was alive. He was sitting there just like moaning in this wheelbarrow." So I was just kind of looking around, like, "Why the fuck they call me? I'm the king. Like, what the fuck? Like, what do they need me for? Like, my dog's doesn't bite, doesn't attack,
right?
Like."
He's going to attack some dude in a wheelbarrow?
Yeah, I'm like, "You guys want to search the wheelbarrow?" Or,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So then they're like, "Hey, we need to get him out of the wheelbarrow, put him on the stretcher, take him up." So I'm like, "Fuck it, dude. I'll grab this part of the stretcher." So I'm holding the stretcher. They pick up what is a human body and put him on the stretcher. And then we start carrying him up. And Sam's licking the stretcher because there's like blood coming out. But I'm just like, "Hey, dude, like, can you guys grab this or take Sam or whatever?" And then one of the other Marines was like, "Oh, I'll just carry it." And they carried him up. But I go up with Jay, and he's talking to the other local that brought him in the wheelbarrow. And he kept saying, "Oh, he's the local, like, he's like the village idiot or whatever." But I'm like looking at his wounds and stuff like that. I'm just like, "Hey, bro, like, I don't think he's a village idiot. I think he's just a village idiot that was placing an IED and it went off on him, you know?" So it's just things like that, man. Like, it's just, you know, we had a Afghan National Army guy, you know, kind of, you get the gist of it down there. Like, you know, if you see a split in the road and you see actual, like, you see people still use this road, right, and you see leaves covering this one, you're like, "Don't go down that one," because no one walks down there. They walk this way, and they mark them, dude. So I think it's called Pavlov's theory is what they teach us at K-9 school. Kind of like, if you were the Taliban, where would you put it? You know? So I just felt bad because there was one time, one of the A&A guys, you know, I would rotate because between our platoon, there would be teams 1 and 2. So they'd be like, "Hey, you're going to be with 1 today, or you're going to be with 2. And sometimes we kind of leapfrog and stuff. And I ended up, unfortunately, being on the back end of the team. So the first team was going up, and we heard an explosion. Boom. And that was the first explosion I heard. And that thing fucking, dude, I was pretty far away, and it still rattled me, you know? Just the percussion and stuff. And I was just like, please, God, don't let it be a Marine, you know? And fortunately, it wasn't a Marine, but unfortunately, it was an A&A guy, you know? But they were like calling for me to come up to, you know, search for secondaries with Sam. I had to search and clear an LZ for the helicopter to take this guy. But I mean, right where he had stepped on, where he shouldn't have been in the first place, because we always tell him, like, follow where we walk. Right. You look straight up into the tree. There was a pink ribbon. And that's how they mark it. You know, they mark them just in different ways, but it's like, if I would have seen that, I would have been like, "Hey, dude, like, let's go somewhere else," you know? Right. Because a lot of stuff over there, like, I was expecting to get there and like Sam find something and then we'll dig it up and then we'll move on. Yeah. But there, it was a lot of like, "Hey, Sam responded there," and they would just mark it on a GPS and we're moving. And then you just avoid it? And we just avoid it, you know, because it was a lot of movement. You know? There was one time, like, his first response, I was kind of bummed out because it was like all dry dirt, and there was like a perfect, like, I would say maybe like a 4x6 square that looked wet, like wet dirt. And Sam responded on it. I was like, "Hey." Yeah. So we called EOD out. They searched it and there was nothing there. But, you know, the pre-deployment course we did in Yuma, the EOD guys there were like, hey, if I don't see wires, I'm not going to trust your dog. So I was kind of like bummed about that. But my EOD techs were there where they were super supportive. Like, hey, bro, like, don't knock yourself. Don't blame the dog because there could have been something there. And he just was smelling the residual.
Sure.
You know, because he was like, why is this perfect square in the middle of the desert?
Right.
You know, in our walkway.
Right.
So they might have just got frustrated and moved it. And it used to be there.
Well,
you know?
and I would imagine you're being in a combat zone is a completely different world than being back in the United States on some fucking Air Force base.
Right.
Like you have no idea what or who has traveled through an area, what has been in that area before you got there, what's going to be there after you've got there. You don't know what you're being exposed to in a situation like that.
Yeah.
You know?
So it was unfortunate. I was down because I'm like, dude, like Sam's good.
Yeah.
You know? And like they always say there's a dumb end and a smart end.
Yeah.
We're not the smart end. He's the one doing all the work, you know? And he doesn't know what he's finding. He just knows if he smells this, daddy's happy, he gets to play, you know? And it's, you know, there's one time where I kind of fucked up because our EOD tech guy found some wire sticking out of the ground in this walkway, and all my training states, if you see, don't send your dog. It's confirmed. There's something there.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if Sam would respond. Well, so I sent him, and he ends up walking over it, and we're like, oh shit. My EOD tech guy kind of like hugs me and puts me up against the wall, and I'm just like, I start pulling the retractable. I'm like, Sam, come. He walks back over it, doesn't set it off, comes back to me, and then we pull out the it's like this like telescope pole with a hook at the end. So the EOD guy shoots it out, pulls it up, and just rips up a pressure plate. And I was like, fuck, I could have fucked up real bad right there, dude.
That's crazy.
I did everything that I wasn't supposed to, and I'm like,
yeah,
dodge that one, you know?
Sometimes it works out.
It does, yeah. It does, you know? And then sometimes there's you hear over the radio a bounty on your head too, man. You know, that I was the big Marine with the golden dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be kind of cool, right?
It was cool and scary at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Because they thought I was wounded out there, so I got shot.
Okay.
And they thought they had pretty much taken me out.
Really?
So there was one op where one of my good buddies was in 3rd platoon. I was 2nd platoon. He got inserted the night before 2nd platoon did. So then I show up to the compound that we kind of took over, and he comes to find me. He goes, hey man, like, get ready, you know? Because RAO, where we were operating out of, we kind of got it under control. And then down south, we knew, I think it was 1-5. They were just getting fucking hit hard, dude. That you can hear it like day in and day out. They were putting in work. And then my buddies that were with 1-5, they got hurt. They were putting in work, you know? And it's just like you keep finding IEDs, eventually your luck's gonna run out, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, and these kids were young, bro, like, and they were studs, you know, they're studs of handlers, you know? And they were killing it, bro, finding them left and right. And it just eventually it caught up to them and they hit one, you know? But we were told, like, hey, the recon, the what do you want to call it, scuttlebutt, or the Lance Corporal Underground in the recon guys, they thought they were done. They were like, I think they only had like 3 months left in country or a little less than that. And they thought since the AO, we were kind of cool, they were like, I think we're done. We're not going to have to go anywhere else. And then they were like, hey, we're going to go down south and help those guys. And they were livid. They were just like, oh man. Luckily there wasn't any casualties from that. But there was one, but that was more of an accident. It wasn't like combat or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were lucky enough that no one really got hurt to helping out 1-5, but they needed help, you know? But yeah, so we went down there. My buddy found me that night. He goes, hey bro, get ready, you know? And I didn't know at the time, but he showed me video later, earlier that day, they were patrolling, and my buddy goes with his dog down this, like, it's like a hallway and it tees off at the end, but there's a big bush at the end. the dude was hiding in the bush. And once my buddy and his dog go into the walkway, the hallway, and then the Valen, the metal detector guy, goes behind him, he just opens up, dude. Horrible shot though, because my buddy was able to turn around, grab the other Marine, and dive around the corner, and the dog didn't get hit.
Wow.
Unfortunately, when the dude, because they're ghosts over there, bro. Like they shoot and they run.
Yeah.
Right. And most of the time they're young kids. They just do what they're told.
Yeah.
So the guy shot, ran. They kind of got their grouping together. Then they wanted to chase after the guy, you know. And then unfortunately, when they kind of pinned him up against a corner, he started shooting back. The kid got shot through the calf, but it was just no bone. He just hit muscle, you know. So that was pretty much it. So he told me about that. So then the next day is when my platoon got to go out. So the first patrol with me and Sam go out, nothing. But I found it kind of weird that there wasn't very many people in this village. So they probably had like a mass exodus, you know. It's like, it's weird, but it's not like super. Maybe it's just like run down, whatever. So we go on a second patrol, and still nothing. You saw some people, and you just kind of waved to them, and they waved back, and whatever. The third patrol, Sam was overheating because it was fucking like 120 degrees. So I told my gunny, I was like, hey, is it cool for me and Sam? I was like, I'll go out. I'll leave Sam here. I'll still go out. And he goes, no, stay with him. Just, you know, watch him. So gave him an IV, hooked him up. He ended up falling asleep, taking a nap. So we were getting ready for the fourth patrol to come out, you know. And I just specifically remember this is the first time we took a compound that had one entrance and one exit. Not good. So yeah, me and the Valen, my metal detector guy, young kid, man, good kid, and we were getting ready to step off. So he went first, and it was this big, huge metal door of the compound. So he goes out, and Sam always followed him, like he was just always on his, like right behind him. So when him and Sam made the left, and I'm just sitting there, and I was like bullshitting with one of the sergeants behind me, and then so it was my turn to go out. Every time I step off, I always said the Lord's Prayer, you know? So I step out, and for some reason, like my safety was always like my fidget. Like I always like fire, safety, fire, safety.
Click, click, click,
yeah,
click, 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 click.
Like, I just fucked with it, you know? I always fucked with it. And then for some reason, dude, I don't know what it was. I stepped outside the door, I made a left, and I clicked it on fire, and I didn't put it on safety. It just stayed on fire. I don't know why. I'm saying the Lord's Prayer. I don't get through the Lord's Prayer, and we hear a shot. And I don't know where I was just like, oh shit. Cause like we have the third platoon. So it was a compound. We took a compound. There was like an open area. There was like one random cow in it. And then there was another compound. That's where third platoon was. So they have 4 posts of security. We have 4 posts of security. So I'm just like, damn, bro. Like my first instinct, like, is this friendly fire?
Right. Yeah.
You know? And then Riley turns around and goes, where'd that come from? And I was just like, dude, I don't know. And I remember right when I said, I don't know, it was like a movie, dude. Like the mud hut wall that was to my left just started like just popping. It looked like somebody was shooting from the inside out.
Okay.
You know? So I was like, oh shit. Like they're shooting at us.
Yeah.
You know? So I remember there was a post on that corner, like you can walk straight, make a left. There was a post there. So I was like, at that time I couldn't see Riley anymore because of the dust. So I was like, hey, I'm running to the post. I'm going to jump over the sandbags, take cover. I think Riley's thought was, hey, I'm going to run, because he was facing me. He goes, I'm going to run this way to go back in the compound to take cover. This kid, I was about 205 at the time. I think I'm still 205. But
I think your leg is 205, bro.
Yeah. So he was like 170 wet, you know, drenched even with all his gear. And this kid ran me the fuck over. Right. But when I think about it, he might have saved my life, because when he hit me, and obviously we couldn't see shit, but he hit me. I fell down and I kind of landed on my back hip, fell down, and then that's when I felt something hit my ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just like, crap. Like I was just like chicken wing crawling, and then someone grabbed me because I was close to the door. Someone grabbed my pack and just drugged me in. Sam was still out there on the leash. Riley ended up running back to the sandbags, but he got shot in the ankle, and it blew that thing. He ended up getting amputated below the knee because it blew it all up, you know. And
you got shot in the ankle?
it was a graze. Like I would say, like I always tell people, I'm like, dude, it looked like half the round hit me. Like I just got grazed in the ankle. Because you know when I got back, one of the sergeants was like taking my shit off, like you know, assessing me.
Yeah.
I'm just laying there, and I'm like, Riley's still out there. I didn't know he went to the post, but I'm like, Riley's still out there. We got to go out there. And it was kind of weird because I didn't hear any gunfire from the post. It was just the gunfire from the dudes there was a canal between, and that's where they were shooting. And everything was kind of low, so I was guessing they were shooting they were trying to shoot Sam, I think.
Yeah.
So he was still attached to me at the time, and I was just like pulling. I'm like,
so was the bounty on at this time?
no, not yet.
Gotcha.
But I was like, dude, it's dead weight. Like I was pulling.
Oh, snap.
I'm pulling.
Yeah.
And there's no give.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad saying this, but Sam was like the least of my worries at the time.
Well, yeah.
I was like, dude, Riley's still out there.
Yeah.
Like he could have been laying. No one knew. He could have been laying out there shot to shit, and no one knows, you know. But then they were like, hey, no, Riley's at the post. He's hit, but he's at the post. And then they bring him in, and you see his ankle's just jacked up. And then they were kind of assessing me. And then I didn't think two shits of it because I didn't really feel your adrenaline's going, right?
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Oh, bro. And that
adrenaline is nuts.
And it's slow-mo. Everything happened in slow-mo. I thought I was like in the Matrix, dude.
Yeah.
Like everything was in slow motion. And you're moving slow motion.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, you know, you know what you want to do, and you're just like, why am I not moving fast enough?
It's like a bad dream where you're trying to run and you can't fucking run.
Oh, yeah, dude. And then so then the sergeant who's fucking a great dude, man. I just hear him. I'm just laying there, and he just goes, "Bear shot." And I'm just like, "Oh fuck, where'd I get hit?" You know? And then so he calls the corpsman over, and he put a Band-Aid on it,
right?
You know. But what's cool is he like stuck some morphine in my leg.
Oh, nice.
He gave me this lollipop, which was like the shit. It has something in there because I was like high as shit. But I remember I was just like, dude, like my back is fucked. Like my back is just fucked. And that was the issue I had. I ended up getting with Riley. We medevaced out. I think I was out for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So does Sam come with you in that situation?
Sam came with me. Yeah, Sam came with me. So when I was like dead weight, this motherfucker, dude. So I guess when shit happened, there was the walkway, and then there's that open area where that cow was. Well, there was like a little ravine where like the farmers send their water, and I think he hid under there.
That dumb, huh?
Yeah, one of the best advice one of the Marines gave me when we relieved them, he was like, "Hey, bro, when you're out on patrol, I know you have a lot going on in your mind, but he goes, always try to find, like, always if you're just walking, just be like, oh, if I start getting shot at now, that's where I would go.
Yeah.
If I start getting shot from over here, that's where I would go.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't." The thought of it shouldn't take that long. Yeah. It should just be like boom there, boom there.
Just like when we go into a restaurant or somewhere now. If I gotta get out of here, how am I gonna get out of here? It's just it becomes a natural part.
It's a natural part,
of
you know,
of your just how your mind works. Yeah.
So and I remember when I stepped out, I saw the little channel, and I thought I didn't go. If I get shot, that's where I'm gonna go. I just was like, that's it.
That's a good
spot. You know.
Yeah.
But I didn't go there. Sam went there because hey, when you get, I mean, bro, like it really mentally fucked me up because I was out for a couple weeks, and I remember my kennel master was like, "Hey, dude, like I'm gonna send you back out." I was just like, I'm not okay right now. You know, I was like, I'm not good, physically or mentally, right? So he was like, "But I got to send you back out." You know,
that takes a lot of fucking courage to say that, bro.
Yeah, dude. Like,
there's a lot of people who'd be like, raw.
Yeah.
You know?
I think if he would have sent me back out when he told me, I would have gotten other people hurt.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been in the right mind frame. You know what I'm saying? I was fucking so scared out of my I was scared, dude. Like when if you get shot at, dude, you get like they reached out and touched me, bro. Like that and it wasn't as bad as my metal detector guy.
Yeah.
But like I kind of wish I had it that way. So then it's like I can start the process of like, hey, surgery, home, boom.
Right.
I was touched and I had to stay there knowing that those fucking assholes like.
And now that shit's in your head.
Now it's in my head, dude, you know? So I was just like, I'm not in the right mind frame, you know? And then another week went by and I was like, hey, dude, like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go out. Yeah. Like, that's where my mind, and it might be like an immature way of thinking of it. And I even, my mom always told me in my emails, like, you know, don't think like that, because I was just like, it's time for me to get my revenge. Like, you know what I'm saying? And Diaz, my buddy Diaz, was still alive at the time. Mm-hmm. So I go back out and I remember he was just like, oh, dude, I'm happy to see you out. He was like, they're going to send you back out. I'm like, hey, like, I'm good now. Like, my back's still in pain, I think, and till this day it's still in pain. But it's just something I was like,
you think that's from getting...
I think that's
guy running you over.
Yeah, because when I landed kind of on my right upper hip, and I was 205 pounds, dude, plus my pack.
Yeah.
Or not my pack, but like plus all my gear, like my sappies and my ammo and all that shit, you know?
Yeah.
So that did some damage. And I remember being at Leatherneck and I was trying to put my plate carry back on and it just wasn't happening, you know? Yeah. But it was a trip too, because so Sam on the medevac, Sam comes with me everywhere, you know? Because he got medevac once because he ripped his paw. And I was just like, you know, it's kind of weird because the Marines, and I give credit to the Army. This is where I'll give the Army credit the one time. Their pilots, bro, like their pilots are the shit.
Right.
Right. So we had a Marine medevac come and he was like, he would like come down and then he would take off again. And then he was talking to the little air traffic controller and he was just like, yeah, man, I can't see when I'm going to hit the ground or whatever. And I'm just like, bro, like, don't you, like, I'm not that smart, but I'm like, don't you have gadgets to tell you how far you are from the ground, bro?
Yeah.
So he took off and then the guy was like, hey man, don't worry. He was like, I got this. Pedro's going to come. Pedro's what we called the medevacs. Uh-huh. And dude, the Army, bro, shows up, fucking slams the helicopter on the ground, door slides open. He goes, you the dog handler? I'm like, yeah. He goes, get in. So me and Sam get in, and because he had ripped his paw pretty bad, you know? So he was like limping. Even if I put him in a boot, he still wouldn't walk on it. So we were like, hey, we'll get medevac. We'll check it out. So that gave me like a week off, and then we went back out. But I'm like, dude, like, I just give those guys, that dude gave like two shits. He was just like, bam. Yeah. Treated him like he was a fucking Marine, you know, IV'd him everything, and then we got to the vet and they took care of him. But
nice.
Yeah, it was a trip, man. So yeah, so I got medevaced. It was kind of cool because we got to Bastion, which there's Leatherneck and then there's Bastion. Mm-hmm. Bastion is where the hospital is and the airport, and that's run by the British. That was run by the Brits. So we land, and I'm with Riley too, or his name was, my Valen guy, his name was Riley. Yeah. The last name was Riley. And he's talking about like some Harry Potter book. He's high as shit. Dude. High as shit. And knowing him, he was like, he's such a smart dude. Uh-huh. From the short time I met him, people were like, dude, he's smart. Like he reads a lot and everything. Yeah. But he was ranting and raving about like this Harry Potter book. Uh-huh. And I'm just like, oh yeah, bro. And I'm kind of high too. So I'm just like, bro, like I'm not about the Harry Potter stuff, you know, but I'm like, oh, that's cool, dude. Yeah. Like, right on. So we get there, they take him to the ER. They wheel me in there too. Right when we got off the bird, there was Brits there and they were like, give me your gun, give me your vest, give me your dog. Just, whew, I don't know where it fucking went. Oh shit. And my kennel master showed up a couple minutes later and he goes, hey, where's your gun? I was like, I don't know. He's like, where's Sam? I don't know. He's like, where's your stuff? I was like, I don't know. Yeah. Ask them, you know? I'm just over here shitting, fucking giggling and stuff.
Yeah, what do you want? Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, man. But I'll always remember that night because we were in the ER. There was a naval doctor and there was a British doctor and they were arguing. about giving me stitches or not. And it ended up going, I heard the naval guy, he was like, hey, he's an American, so he's going to do what I say. So the British doctor was like, well, fuck it, dude, you know, whatever. So he takes off. So he's like, I don't want to give you stitches. He's like, we're just going to leave it open. It'll heal. Once it kind of scabs up, you can go back out. He goes, but try not to get it wet. I'm like, bro, I'm in Afghan channel water
right
daily,
yeah.
You know? So I was like, well, fuck it, dude. I don't care, you know, whatever. Once it scabbed up, I went back out. But I always remember that night because I was in the ER and these kids, bro, just start coming in. Young kids. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm mobile. I can walk.
Yeah.
Like, I was telling the nurse, I'm like, hey, she was pretty, dude. You know, she was very attractive British girl. But I was just attractive for Afghanistan in 2011, okay?
I feel you.
So, I mean, I'm not one to look at either.
I'm picking up what you're laying down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like,
she's
hey.
jail hot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I was like, hey, ma'am. I was like, if you need space, because they're putting these kids in like the hallway, bro. Yeah. And these kids are fucked up. And I'm like,
how can I help?
how can I help her? You know, and I know they're still alive. And I'm in like the ER space. And I'm like, I can go sit in that corner. I don't
need to be here. Yeah.
And you guys can help him, you know?
Yeah.
But basically I ended up finding out was, I guess somebody, not Americans, but somebody ended up bombing the wrong area. Mm-hmm. And there was kids there that got hurt. And these are the kids that were there bringing them in. And that's another thing. It's just like, you don't see every day, you know? You don't see like a little 8-year-old kid that's half there and half not.
Is that tough knowing that you're fighting their fathers, uncles, cousins, brothers, and yet you've got this little kid here how does that work in your head?
It's kind of fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
You know? It's a fucked up concept because, you know, you do make relationships with some of the people there because you patrol the same areas and, you know, you trade, you know, I've got so much like just clothes and hats and I've traded for my stuff, you know. One guy, I mean, you get to know him, like he wanted my Gerber and I waited till after my deployment. I gave him a Gerber and he gave me like a man dress and all this other stuff. And he thought he won the lotto because it's like, you're living in the cave ages.
Yeah.
And I just gave you a Gerber, a multi-tool. And he was just like, you know, oh my God, it was like a transformer to him.
I'm the fucking man now.
But it's hard, man, because, you know, and I'll tell you this, like I made really good friends with this kid. He was probably about 6 or 7. His name was Ismat. And I remember it was funny story. When I started packing for deployment, I left all my rain gear, all my Gore-Tex out. And my wife was like, oh, how come you're not taking that? I was like, babe, I'm going to Afghanistan.
It's 130 fucking degrees.
I'm going in the summer. I don't need rain gear, right?
Yeah.
Dude. I needed rain gear, dog. You know, so we get there and towards like so I was there from May till I got home Christmas Eve on December 24th. But like, you know, September, October, November hits, it starts raining. So I had to borrow shit from the recon unit. And the gunny was funny because he was like, make sure before you leave, I get this back. And I was like, I'll be sure. Like I was like 100% gunny, I'm going to return it.
Right.
You know? And he goes, sure. I think he's still waiting for me to return it.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway, so like this kid it was just kind of like a rainy day. I'm standing post and I have Jay with me, the interpreter, Fabio. So I'm talking to this kid and cute little kid, man. I was like, dude, I'll adopt this little fucker. But he asked me if I was hungry. And I was like, yeah, man, I could use some food. What do you got? You know, this little kid comes back with naan bread.
Yeah, man.
Warm on a cold fucking day. I'm sitting post. Warm naan bread, dude. You can still see it steaming. Bro, I hit the lotto that day. But then when I was talking to him, just kind of in conversation, Jay was like, yeah, he was saying if his parents find out that they'll cut his hands off, bro. Like the villagers will cut his hands off. I'm like, dude, this little kid.
What?
Well, I used to get packages of candy and stuff like that. And it was kind of one of those things where if you had kids around, you probably weren't the likelihood of you getting shot at was not that great.
Right.
It happened, I think, once to us, but like if you have kids around, that's why I always give candy and stuff like that. But I remember this one time I had this big like Halloween bag and we were about to bounce. We were about to go home. Like it was leaving. And it was like, I could be wet, I'm fine. I could be cold, I'm fine. But if I'm cold and wet, bro, that's like, I'm miserable, you know? So I had, in my dump pouch, I had all this candy. So I called Ismot over and I was like, hey buddy, like I'm leaving. But I didn't have Jay with me, so he didn't know what the fuck I was saying, you know? Yeah. So I was like, hey bro, like I took it out and he was just like, oh my God. Like his eyes, dude,
died
like,
and went to heaven.
I basically made him the drug runner of candy in his little village.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But then so I was standing post. There was like a wadi right in front of us, kind of huge, and he's running with this bag of candy. And I see this like 13-year-old kid stop him, like probably like 20 yards down. He stops him. He takes the bag, and I'm just like, oh hell no, bro. I was like, you're not taking it from my boy, you know. So I was like, hey, come here. So he comes over, and I Spartan kicked this little kid in that river, dude. I took the bag. I was like, I just went like this. I was like, give me the bag. He gives me the bag. I was like, bam. And he ends up in the river and he gets up. He's like crying and shit. And then Jay happened to be walking by and I was just like, hey, tell him to leave Isma alone. Like if he keeps fucking with him, it's going to get worse. So he told me, he kind of cried and ran off. I gave Isma back the candy. He was all happy again. But I was like, damn. But it's crazy because I think about that kid all the time, bro. I think about him all the time. I'm like, is he dead? Is he Taliban?
Right.
What's that kid doing right now, you know?
Yeah.
Because those kids, man, I always tell people, I'm like, you put a 5-year-old Afghani kid against a 5-year-old American kid, I'm taking that Afghani kid, he can farm, he can take care of himself, he'll feed himself, like he's resilient, you know? And we got kids over here that are crying because their iPad's not charged, you know? So it's just a whole nother world, man. They don't, you know, it was weird not having electricity, you know, things like that, you know, but it was a good experience, man. It really, because I was, again, before the Marine Corps, I was lost, bro.
Yeah.
And then I was a hothead. I was a punk, dude. Like when I look back at myself prior to the Marine Corps, like I don't like what I remember. I don't like what I saw. Like I would hate myself, you know? But seeing all that and experiencing everything in Afghanistan, just like, you know, and almost, you know, they reached out and touched me, dude. Like, imagine if I would have been laying the other way or so. And to be honest with you, I went through a phase where, because when I got back, I started counting. It's a 30-round magazine, 30 rounds. And I was counting like 26 when I took my magazine out. And I'm like, bro, like, where'd the other rounds go? So I went through a phase pretty bad where like I was like, dude, I think I shot Riley. Like I think I shot him when we hit each other. I had my gun on fire. I might have pulled the trigger. You know, like did I shoot him?
Yeah.
You know, like it just I don't. Still to this day I couldn't tell you. So I found out because I asked the doctor. I'm like, he was like, no, you didn't shoot him. You know, but still to this day I couldn't tell you where like in the fog of war, like did I hit the ground and shoot a couple back off? Like, I don't know, bro. You know,
your brain does crazy things.
It does, man. And it's kind of weird because I also think like, I'm always like, dude, I wish I could have a dream. I just wish I can have a dream where I can relive that moment. You know what I'm saying? And I can't, you know, I don't even like, even when I know the gist of what happened. And then talking to Riley after the fact, kind of the gist, he goes, yeah, bro, like I remember hitting you and you fell. And then I went back to the post and all that stuff. But like, it's still like, how do I not know where my rounds went?
Yeah.
Did I shoot back? Did I maybe shoot the ground? I don't know. Like, you know, your body, you're right. Your mind does weird shit, you know? So
you really in traumatic incidents, your memory does crazy things. You know, when my daughter passed away, like that whole time, those whole few weeks, maybe even months, are just a fog.
Right.
You know, I don't remember who I talked to. I remember very few. There were like,
I want to say that's when we like. I think I think I reached out to you.
yeah, maybe.
I think that's when like we started kind of talking because I remember following that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember following your daughter's kind of thing. I remember
Mm-hmm.
you were saying she was sick and
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And we hadn't met yet, you know.
I'd been trying to remember when you and I had met.
Yeah.
And that may very well be possible.
Yeah.
Like I said,
because I remember talking to your dad, dude.
Really?
I had a few conversations on social media with your dad.
Okay.
I think it was when he and his brother were traveling.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say he reached out because I think he found out like probably we're friends, and then I was in the Marine Corps and stuff like that. And you know, for some reason, like ever since I was little, I had this infatuation with Vietnam. Because people always like, just when we're bored of shooting shit, like, if you can go back to any war, which one would you do? I always pick Vietnam, bro.
Really?
Always. Ever since I was little.
Pretty sure my dad would disagree with
yeah. Everybody there probably would disagree. Yeah. But it was just like, because I grew up watching the movies.
Right.
Platoon. You know, all those Rambo,
yeah,
Casualties of War.
Sure.
You know, with Michael J. Fox. That's such a good movie. Yeah. But like, I remember, and I had an epiphany in Afghanistan because when I was little, I remember I used to love the noise when like in the movie sequence, they would be running through the jungle with all their gear, right? So when I was little, I would put like my parents one time bought me these canteens, and I was like, I didn't have them for very long because I didn't, you know, my interest in things weren't that long. But I remember putting rocks in them so they would make that noise, right? So when I was in Afghanistan, I remember we had to run across this big. It was a cornfield, but the corn hadn't grown yet. It was just dirt. They had the rows to plant the corn, but we had to run across. And I remember, so I was like, I had Sam. I was like, ready, buddy? I was like, let's go. Boom. So we're running. And I remember I'm running through this field and I get to where I'm supposed to go. And my gunner was like, bro, were you laughing? And I was like, yeah, dude. So I had to tell him the story. I was like, dude, it was an epiphany because I had this infatuation with Vietnam movies and Vietnam. And then when I was a little kid, I wanted to make that noise. And when I'm running through this field, I'm in the game, bro.
And
my gear's making the noise.
I'm there, bitch.
I was like I always tell people I get goosebumps because I'm like, it has to be that same feeling of like when a Major League Baseball player makes it to the big leagues. Yeah. It's just so surreal. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I've like, I think this is my moment, you know? And I'm in a combat zone. Yeah. You know? And I was like, dude, it was cool. But then I was like, okay, dude, you're in a combat zone. Like, let's not get too giddy. Yeah. No one's giddy to be here. Yeah. You know, so it was kind of cool. But, you know, I vaguely remember having a few conversations, just messaging your dad back and forth, you know, and I don't know what part of the country he said he was in, but it was a very short conversation, but, you know, but I think around that time is when we started talking.
Yeah. So it was a weird time, man. Like I think we figured out there was like close to 600 people at her funeral. And I remember very few. Like I know I talked to a lot of people that day. Right. And it's super, like whenever I see somebody out and about, like I almost hesitate to bring it up because I don't want them to feel like I didn't see them or like they were forgotten. But in a lot of ways, I was so wrapped up in that stuff that was going on that my brain just doesn't fucking work. Oh yeah. But it's even that way like work related. Like guys that I've worked with or deputies that I've worked with for years will get together and they'll tell stories like about me or about situations that I was allegedly a part of. And I don't remember, man. Yeah. I don't remember. Do you find that in your combat experience at all, or do you have a pretty good recollection of most of it?
What's good about my deployment is I kept a journal, dude.
Really?
I journaled through my whole deployment.
That's awesome.
You know, so it's kind of like I know the time frame I was there.
Yeah.
So I have this, you know, the little Marine Corps duty books, the green ones.
Yeah, the little green one.
The little green. So I had a little green one. That was my journal.
Yeah.
So every night, and I mean, there were some nights I missed because we were working, we were doing our thing, but most of the time when, you know, something happened, I would just jot it down. And then I caught myself not writing down the big events, like the I don't know if you want to say like drastic, tragic events. So like in my notebook, like if you flip through it, you can read and I date it and all that stuff. And then there's like inserts, like I'm like, hey, on this day, because it was like after the fact.
Came back after the fact.
I came back after the fact, but it was just kind of like you said, like your brain just kind of like blocks it out.
What made you decide to start a journal?
Dude, honestly, I don't even know. I think maybe it was my kids can read it when they're older, you know, because I always thought, so like going back to not wanting to deploy, I never wanted to deploy. I didn't want to deploy. And then I would like meet Marines that were like, oh yeah, I was a Marine during Vietnam. I'm like, how, like, I have like 1,000 questions for you, you know? And I'm always like, dude, how was Vietnam? And they go, oh, like I didn't deploy, but I was a Marine at the time. And then I was kind of like, there's nothing wrong with it.
But there's always that vibe,
vibe, right? But there's nothing wrong. Like, again, I don't hold anything against them, and it's fine. You know, just like some Marines now, like, you know, prior to 9/11, there's Marines that have like, you know, the thing I don't like about the Marine Corps during combat, from like post 9/11, it was like they judge you on your stack or they judge you on your accomplishments.
I'm sorry, it's not my fault that you know, the World Trade Center didn't get blown up in 1980.
Yeah, exactly,
and
right.
It's not my fault I wasn't at war for the last 20 fucking years.
Right. And then, like, you know, you see Marines that have like 2 ribbons that were previous to 9/11.
Yeah.
And you're like, bro, like, you're a gunny and you have 2 ribbons, like, what the fuck you do? It's like, no, bro, like,
what the fuck you want me
like,
to do,
what,
bro?
like, you don't know when he served, dude. Like, why are you judgy, bro? Like, you know? So it's one of those things where, you know, I didn't like that thing, but, you know, again, I went through this thing where I was like, do I want to be one of those Marines when my son goes, hey, Dad, you know, like, how was Afghanistan? Do I want to tell him like, oh, hey, buddy, like, I didn't go? Or do I want to tell him like, hey, I fought bad guys. I walked the walk. Like I did, you know what I'm saying? And again, there's nothing against not deploying. Yeah. But like I went through this big thing where, and my kids weren't even born yet. Right. But I was already like thinking ahead of time, like, do I want to be that Marine or do I want to be this Marine? You know? So, you know, when they told me like, hey, you're going to deploy, I was like, hey, dude, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go, you know? Let's see what this is all about, you know? And now it's kind of one of those things where, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, hey, like, just because again, seeing what I saw, the things I did over there, I'm not proud of, but at the same time, I think it helped me to be a better person coming back, you know, because we came back December 24th of 2011, Christmas Eve. And I remember leaving Afghanistan. We were supposed to go to Manaz and then we were supposed to fly to the States, but we flew straight to the States. And when we landed in Maine, I remember talking to the Air Force, the crew. I was like, oh, hey, where are you guys stationed at? And they're like, oh, we're stationed here. I was like, hey, boys, we ain't going to be at home for Christmas. You know, I was like, they're going to stay, you know, their family's here. Yeah. So then like shit hit the fan with our command and they found a flight team that would be willing to fly us from the East Coast to home to March, but we had to make room for their families. So there was yeah. I mean, on the way to Afghanistan, I mean, dude, I was laying on the dog kennels. I pulled out my sleeping bag and, you know, fell asleep. You know, that's what you do. You know, and so we got back, dude. Like, yeah, it was December 24th, dude, 2011. We landed in March Air Force Base probably about like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then my wife had set me up with another K-9 handler's wife with an apartment out in town. Landed, saw my family, you know, my wife, my parents. Went to the apartment. Had my father-in-law owns a brewery.
Okay.
So out locally.
Mm-hmm.
Had some beer. And yeah, man, like I would say from December 24th till about mid-February, maybe March. Don't remember shit. Because you got to think about it. I was one of the last ones to come back to Leatherneck from my unit before we left.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly could say I was probably the last one to come back. And then I get on a bird, come home straight to Christmas Eve. So I go home, sleep, wake up, it's Christmas morning, have to meet family. Then my family's real small. So we kind of did our thing. And my wife's family's huge.
Yeah.
So they meet.
Hard in the paint.
It's, you know, hard in the paint. So I remember sitting there and I'm just like, bro, like everyone's asking me and talking to me and I'm just like not wanting to talk about it. I'm trying to be like cool about it, but I'm just like sitting there like, bro, like just a week ago, I was shitting in a bag. And I'm in a house right now that has like 5 fucking toilets.
How crazy is that to go from a combat zone? Yeah, where you say where you're shitting in a bag, and like within 24 hours, you're back in the world.
I'm back home
with having
my wife's in the other room,
having no time to decompress, having no time to process.
It's hard, bro. Like, because especially honestly, one of the hard, like we had satellite phones, right? So when I got hit, I got back to the compound on Leatherneck. My kennel master was like, hey, I need a favor. And I was like, what do you need, dude? You know? And he was like, one of the younger Marines got hit yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, well, fuck. Like, is he all right? He goes, no, he's not. I'm like, okay. He was like, I don't know if his parents have been notified. Because I wasn't going to tell my wife, dude. I wasn't going to tell anybody I got shot. Because it's like, bro, like, it grazed my fucking ankle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell anybody. I'll tell them when I get home, you know?
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. By the way, I got hit, you know, whatever. So he was like, I need you to call your wife to see if the military called her so I know if his parents got notified.
Check.
And a part of me was like, how about you, like, put your big boy pants on?
How about you fuck off?
Yeah, I was like, and you're the kid. You're like, he was a staff sergeant at the time. I'm like, how about you put your big boy pants on and just call the parents yourself?
Yeah.
Just call them.
Yeah.
You just don't want to have that conversation with them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you're going to make some Lance Corporal in like somewhere in the United States make that phone call and they don't know shit. Because when I called I agreed to it. Mm-hmm. So I called my wife and it was probably one of the hardest conversations I had. I was like, hey,
were you like trying to dance around it? Like, hey, has the Marine Corps called you for anything?
So I called her and she's like, hey. And I was like, hey, has anyone called you? Mm-hmm. She goes, no. I was like, okay.
Okay, never mind. Bye.
Yeah. I was like, I want to tell you I'm okay. She was like, fuck. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to do this here.
Dude, I've got like 6 episodes. I think I've cried in 3 of them.
So I was like, I'm okay. She's like, fuck, what happened? So I was like, someone's going to call you. I'm alive. I'm fine. I was like, but I technically got shot. So that's when she lost it. She was like, what?
Yeah.
And it was July 23rd. And what's funny is my cousin, who's like my brother, got married that day. So like my mom, so I had 3 phone calls that day. I had to call my wife, told her, and then I was like, hey, my next call is gonna be my mom. And then my next call is going to be my older brother. I'll let my older brother tell my younger brother. Not that I love him any less.
Yeah.
It's just,
right.
You
can't call 50 billion fucking people
on a satellite phone. So I called my mom. I was like, Mom, has anyone called you? She was like, no. I was like, okay. I was like, hey, just someone's probably going to call you and tell you I got hurt, but I'm fine. I'm talking to you right now. I'm good. This is what happened. I can walk, I can run, whatever. I'm fine. She was okay. So then I called my brother. I told him. And then the next day, my kennel master was like, hey, can you call them again to see if someone called? Right? So then I called my wife. No, I'm sorry. I called my mom. And my mom was like, she was like, Mijo, she's like, thank you for calling. Because the person that called me said that you had been shot and you were in the ICU. Okay. I wasn't upset at the Marine Corps for that.
Yeah.
Because they're reading the blotter.
100%. It's just it's like a game of telephone, man.
It says my name, my last four, shot, going to the hospital, and that's all they're getting.
Sure.
And it was funny because my mom tells a story and she was like, yeah, they called me and they said that you're getting the Purple Heart. And I was like, I don't fucking care what color it is. I just want him to be okay. But it was a good thing that I called.
Yeah.
Because my wife got a call and my mom got a call. And if I wouldn't have called, they would have lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of a good thing, but so yeah, that happened. And my deployment, I mean, it sucked, man. We came back one short, and that one was hard, That was Diaz.
I've seen you post a few times about him.
Yeah. He was the man, dude. He was good.
That was your sergeant buddy, yeah.
Yeah. It's just hard because it's hard to mentally go through like the guy that showed you everything about your job get hit and you're just like it's like, dude, like if he can get hit, like fuck, like we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're fucked, and it's just crazy because it's, it when you look back, because even after, like with Sanka, I got a random phone call when we were already back. This was like a year or something. We were already back or whatever. And then, or 2 years when we got back. And then my buddy calls me from Louisiana. He was like, hey man, I got to tell you, Sanka got hit. And I'm like, bro, like, I didn't even know he was deployed. And I'm like, how the hell are the two best K-9 handlers that I ever worked with gone?
Yeah.
And Diaz, he passed. I mean, when I found out what happened, it was like, I'm not fucking surprised, And like one of the questions was like, hey, is Dino, his dog, still alive? Like, because he went to Israel. Dino was an Israeli dog, And I found out his dog was still alive. Basically what had happened was, because he was MARSOC. He was with recon with me. Something happened with one of the MARSOC handlers. They weren't jiving. So that MARSOC handler got sent to recon. Diaz left recon and went MARSOC. So it was a better mesh. Diaz was the kind of guy, like you could put him in a room with strangers and they're leaving best friends. He was the guy you wanted to be around. He was the guy that lit up the room. Like he was just a good dude, man. Like you wanted to hang out with him. And I got lucky enough to be a close friend to him. Like he would always call me, hey dude, come over. Let's drink some beer. Let's do this. Let's do that. And
it's crazy how you run into people sometimes where you feel honored to be their friend.
Right.
Like what does that dude see in me, dude, that he wants to be friends with me?
So I went through that. And then when I met his parents, because when I got back, I went to El Paso to meet his parents, and I went to go visit his gravesite. And I know what he saw in me, dude. Mm. And I honestly, I want to say he saw himself in me because I'm a chubby dude, bro. You know, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I like to eat, you know, but I found out his parents are probably gonna kill me for this, but he was a big kid. Uh-huh. He was a chubby kid growing up. Uh-huh. If you saw him when we were in the Marine Corps, he was fucking skinny, bro. He would always run. He was like, dude, I think the only thing I ever saw him eat was like Monsters, bro. Like that's all, like liquid diet. Like he just would always be running. Like, oh, dude, like I tell people, you see me running, you better run too. Something's chasing me, dude. You know? But he, like, I'm like, dude, I want to say he, like, because I'm not a great runner. Yeah. Like, if you need me to run, like sprint, whatever, like, I'll tell you right now, I can run and I'll never stop. But the speed that I'm running ain't gonna be the fastest, you know. But I'll never stop.
I'm gonna do my best to get to you, bro. But right, it's gonna take a little time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I'll get there. You know, I
hope you can fight,
and I'll give you. Yeah, I'll get there. So, but the thing with that is, like, when I found out after he passed, I'm like, dude, like, it made sense. It made sense because I wasn't the greatest runner in the Marine. I'm still obviously not the greatest runner in the Marine Corps. I wasn't the greatest runner. I hated fucking running. Same, you know. Yeah. You know, and knowing that he was a bigger kid growing up, I was just like, maybe that was a thing that kind of drew him to me. Cause like right off the bat, the first thing he ever told me, I remember he looked at me, he goes, damn, bro, you got a big fucking head. And then I was sitting there, I was like, dude, this sergeant's cool. Yeah. I was like, you know, cause I was just like, well, you got some big fucking lips, dude, you know? And after that, we were just like, hanging out, you know, like just hanging out. And, you know, he became close to my wife too. Like they were friends and it was cool, man. So it was just unfortunate because like, I remember I was asleep and we were about to go out on an op and I was like, okay, dude, like, I was like, I could probably get like 2 hours of sleep. So I fucking was taking a nap with Sam and I get woken up by another handler that replaced the first platoon handler who got hit. He woke me up. He's like, hey, you need to come outside. And I was like, dude, and this was a handler that like kind of no one like respected. No one like, I was like, bro, leave me alone.
Fuck off.
Yeah, you know? And he goes, no, dude, you need to come outside. I was like, dude, I'm not going outside. He goes, bro, get the fuck outside. I need to tell you something. I'm like, all right. So I go outside and I think he had told some of my platoon guys already because there was a couple guys out there waiting for me, and my lieutenant was there. And he would sit down, and I was just like, "Fuck, dude, this isn't cool." Like I already knew something was up,
sure,
but I didn't know who. Sure. Like in my mind, I'm like, "Who the fuck is it?" And he was just like, "Hey," he's like, "Diaz is gone." I was like, "What?" It's just pure. Just shocked, you know, like he was younger than me, but like looked up to the guy. He was my trainer. He was my sergeant. Yeah. That's not supposed to happen to him. It's supposed to happen to us. He's been to Iraq, Afghanistan. He's done it all, you know.
Tip of the spear, man. The tip of the spear. That's not supposed to happen.
That's not supposed to happen to those guys, you know. And I was like, "Are you what?" And he was like, "Yeah, Diaz is gone." So I was like, "Fuck it, dude." So I booked it because we had the compound and we had our rock where all like the admin and all the phones were and stuff. And you're supposed to put your gear on to go from 1 to 2, but I just ran across, you know, because I needed to get on the phone. So I called the kennel master. I was like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant." I was like, "Hey, dude, tell me I'm just fucking dreaming." He goes, "Dude, he's gone." I was like, fuck. But not that it makes it any better that he's gone, because it doesn't, but like the way he went out, man, like basically, so he was MARSOC. There was EOD techs there. They were in a compound and it was just riddled with IEDs. It was just booby trapped everywhere. And then this is just from what I was told, you know, And so, because I always wondered, like, well, how did he pass, but Dino lived, you know, his K-9. So then basically what was told to me was the EOD tech guy set off an IED. So he was hit. He heard it. The guys heard it. He threw Dino in the truck. He ran to assist the EOD tech. Him and another Marine were triaging, helping him out. They picked him up, and as they were leaving, I believe the other Marine stepped on a secondary, and that took all three of them out. You know, but you know, it's like, and what sucks about that, man, is like, he looked out for me a lot. You know, that morning that he passed, he had sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, and it's just, hey, are you online? You know, a couple nights before we were back at Leatherneck, because you kind of rotate. Like, if you're out for a couple weeks, you can come back for like a few days and you can go back out. And I was lucky enough that I was there when he was there. And he goes, yeah, man, I'm leaving tomorrow, like 3 a.m. I was like, bro, wake me up. I'll take you. We'll drive the Gator. I'll take you to your bird. And then whatever. He goes, yeah, I'll wake you up. He didn't wake me up. I remember waking up. It was like fucking 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn. But like, my wife used to send me Jack Daniels and like you know, those big naked smoothies.
Yeah. Huh?
So she would drink those and she would rinse them out, and she would send me like Gentleman Jack.
That's a good woman right there,
dude,
son.
You know? And we were drinking the night, and we were smoking cigars, smoking hookah, you know, just drinking. And I just remember telling him good night. Gave him a hug.
Yeah, man.
That was it. You know?
Can't ask for much more than that, brother.
You can't. But yeah, it was a trip, dude. It mentally, bro, like, that fucked me up.
How do you cope with that?
He rode dirt bikes. When I got back from Afghanistan, mine and his plan was to get Harleys. And in high school, I always wanted a street bike. So when I got back, you know, it's tax-free money, bro. Like, and my wife was at home. So I don't have rent. I had all this, like, I had a good chunk of cash saved up. So I was just kind of like, I found this bike out, dude. It was like out by Six Flags. It was like in Valencia or something. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm going to go look at this bike. She goes, dude, you're going to fucking buy it. I was like, yeah. I already had the cash in hand.
I got to look at it first.
Yeah, I was like, but I got to look at it. I don't care if that motherfucker didn't have wheels. Right? It was coming home with me.
Yeah.
You know? So I bought the bike, and that was like, you know, people always, you know, I have friends that have deployed, they skydive, they do all this shit, and they're trying to find that
rush.
There's no rush that compares to shooting at a human being, and for that human being to shoot back at you. You can go paintballing all you want. That paintball is just going to hit you. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And it's just paint.
Yeah.
But when it's like a life and death, like this dude could take me out, and I could take him out. And there was times where possibly we did. It's just a whole different ball. Like that I've never found it. The closest thing I've ever found to that adrenaline rush is hitting about 120 miles an hour on my motorcycle, and I almost shit my pants. Literally, I slowed down. I was like, that was probably the stupidest thing I ever did.
I could have really died right there.
Yeah, I was in like shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I was in 29 Palms. It was like, I think Allenboy Road. It was just so, there was no cars. I fucking gunned it, dude. You know? And I was just like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. You know? And that, my outlet was writing. Like, it was something me and Chris were going to do together. And then I bought my first house. I had to sell the bike, you know? But now I traded pavement for dirt, And so it's dirt, you know. That's how I get my outlet. It's, you know, because that's something he did. It's something he enjoyed, something he was good at, you know. And I talked to his brother too now, his younger brother. And I know he kind of, you know, he's started a family stuff, but he hasn't ridden in a while. But it's something that his brother was good at too. And, you know, his dad still has all their stuff. And hopefully one day we can get together and ride, you know. And I'm part of a great organization right now out of Lake Elsinore called Warrior Built. And they do a lot of stuff for veterans, man.
What's that about?
Warrior Built, it's the president Nick Ham, he started it. It's they do a lot of off-roading. They do a lot of the Baja races.
Okay.
They just a couple years ago they started a Class 11. They have a Volkswagen that they race. They have a shop, like I said, up in Lake Elsinore, and I mean they have anything and everything you need mechanically wise. You know, you need to do an oil change on you need to work on your bike, you need to work on your Harley, you need to work on anything. Now they're doing welding classes, they're doing all this shit. It's all for veterans, you know?
Really?
And the way I stumbled across it is my father-in-law, who owns a brewery, they reached out to him a couple years ago and they wanted him to donate some beer for the Army Navy game. And my father-in-law was like, hey, like, you want to come check this place out? I just want to make sure it's legit. My father-in-law is very, very like pro-veteran military, you know? So I was like, yeah, I'll go with you. And I was just like, bro, like, this place is fucking awesome. But like, why don't veterans know about these places? Like, this was in my backyard and I'm just finding out about it.
Yeah, I've lived in the Temecula Valley for more than 20 years and I've never heard of this organization. So yeah,
it's just kind of, there's one in Temecula called Warfighter Made.
Okay.
You know, and they do the same shit, and they're a great group of dudes. I met the guys from Warfighter Made through I can't remember the name, but it was it sucks because the Navy veteran who owned it passed away a few years ago. But horse therapy for me, bro. That's huge.
I remember when you were doing that. Yeah,
huge, dude. Like, and I was telling my wife a while ago, I was like, I think what helps me is being on things like a horse, a motorcycle, things that could possibly
fuck you up,
fuck me up, right? Things that are more powerful than me.
Yeah.
I think that's what puts me at ease, you know? For me, even at work, like in the military and all that stuff, like I'm kind of, when it's like mundane, I'm like just average, but like when shit hits the fan, I am really good in chaos.
That's when we shine. That's when we shine, brother.
Yeah.
Like
it's like
when times get tough, dude, we fucking stand up.
Yeah, man.
And it's hard to find that. It's hard to find that in a typical civilian life.
Right. It's like they say, man, when shit hits the fan, like, look for the calm guy in the room because he's about to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
You know? I might be a big dude, but it doesn't mean I'm not violent, dude. You know?
I'm never happier than when things are going to shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. This is what I live for,
yeah,
you know?
This is awesome.
It's you know, and obviously now with, you know, with my past where I was like just a punk and just wanting to fight and just wanting to like basically just fuck shit up for no reason, dude. You know, no reason. I thought the world was against me and it wasn't, you know, and then I got to experience, you know, because honestly, like, so I had lost my grandpa before that, but I didn't really have a relationship. Like, I had a relationship with him, but it wasn't like close, you know?
This was your mom's dad or your dad's dad?
This was my mom. My mom's dad.
Okay.
My dad's side of the family stayed in Mexico. My mom's side, it lives out in Southern California.
Check.
But it was one of those things where I lost my grandpa, bummed out, you know, another trip to Mexico, but we weren't super close. So like, honestly, like Diaz was like the first person that was like close to me that I lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, besides my grandpa, you know, like, and again, that wasn't like emotionally, it sucked. And I think I felt bad more for my mom you know, like losing her dad than me losing my grandpa.
Sure.
But it was one of those things where Diaz like mentally fucked me up because again, it was like that dude was like Superman to me. Like he was my trainer.
Yeah.
He's the one that showed us everything what to do. He was the one that showed, you know, he trained us. Like he's been to Israel. He's done all these things and they got him.
Yeah.
What do you think they could do to us?
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, dude, it's not cool, you know?
I had a very similar circumstance to that in 2016. And it really took me by surprise, man, like how hard this hit me. When my friend Christine, who worked for the department, suicided.
Yeah.
And I remember when the email came out and I was reading it and I was completely stunned, man. And I went to the academy that day. I was assigned to the academy at the time as a training officer. And I got up in front of the class and I tried to read the email and I couldn't even read the email. I broke down in tears.
Yeah.
And I had known her for 23 years when she passed. Mm-hmm. And we had been probation officers together at juvenile hall. And it sounds a lot like Chris, like everybody was her friend. Mm-hmm. Like anybody who met her was instantly her friend. She 100%. never met a stranger. Mm-hmm. And if somebody who was so positive and so full of life and so seemingly happy could take her own life, what chance did a grumpy fucking bastard like me have?
Right.
To survive this long term.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
It totally blew me away.
It's nuts. Cause I remember I didn't know her personally. I never worked with her. I heard her story, and in the veteran community and in the law enforcement community, I think it's so hard because like I always tell my therapist, like I think about suicide every day.
Yeah.
I wake up and it's just like certain things that like, and it's not, I think about suicide every day, but these thoughts aren't every day. It's where like, I'll put on my socks, right? Yeah. And I'll put on my socks, you know, I put these on today and sometimes I'd be like, damn, like, are these the socks that I'm going to die in?
Maybe I won't put these socks on tomorrow.
Right. You know, like it's just weird, dude. Like, yeah, and sometimes people don't get it. And I'm not saying it's like a veteran stigma thing or a law enforcement thing, but it's like, it's just and I tell my therapist, I'm like, it's just the thoughts that go through my mind.
I totally 100% get that. It's not like I don't want to leave here and go step in front of a bus.
Right.
But it's always an option.
Right.
Like if things get really bad, it is always a legitimate option.
And it's just crazy too when people that you respect, like your friend, and you hear about veterans and you're like, dude, like like a guy like that or a girl like that who's well respected, well liked, like if they can make that decision that's so easy or makes it seem easy,
right?
You know, and I'm over here like, you know, but I always tell my therapist, I'm like, she goes, well, you know, explain. I'm like, I think about dying every day. But she's like, well, what keeps you around? I was like, my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
My kids. And to be honest with you, I don't think I have the balls to do it. To be honest with you, I just don't, you know, but I think about it every day. I think about it sometimes. I'm like, is this the clothes that my wife's going to find me in? Is this the, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's hard. And I feel like I hate that whole like, oh, it's that veteran stigma. It's what you went through. It's not, it's just like, you know, there's no manual for it, bro. Cause everyone's so different, you know, like
I really don't, I don't think it's that. I call bullshit on that. And that it's not that it's a veteran thing or it's not that it's a cop thing. It's just, I think we have very different relationships with death.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of it. Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
it doesn't hold a lot of mystery necessarily for us. I don't think it holds a lot of the emotion. Like, we don't get really caught up in it.
Right.
You know, like when you've seen a lot of dead bodies, it's like, oh, this is just like a bunch of meat.
Yeah.
You know, like there's nobody home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all good.
Right.
And whereas some people look at it as just a completely unacceptable thing, whether for religious reasons or just having never experienced, like, there's a lot of people who have not experienced death.
Right.
Like you said, Chris was the first
100%
important person in your life to have passed. When you get to my age, there will be a few.
Yeah. If I get there.
I think you will.
Honestly, I didn't think I was going to see fucking like 30, dude. You know? I turned 28 in Afghanistan. I was like, dude, I'm probably not even going to see 30.
How old are you now?
I'm going to be 40 this year.
Crazy, bro. Congratulations.
Nuts, dude. Nuts, man. You know, but it's just a trip, dude. You know, like everyone, I mean, it's at the same time, if everyone went through my experience, it'd be completely different for everybody.
How so?
You know, I just think people kind of, definitely. People kind of just deal with things their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you know, if we go outside right now and we're just outside in front of your house and we get shot at, you might have a harder time dealing with it than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might have a harder time dealing with it than you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just people's perceive things differently.
Yeah.
They deal with things differently. You know, people, that might be normal for a person that, let's say, grew up in a bad neighborhood and they're like, oh, that happened all the time. And they can go to bed that night. Where I grew up in a town that never happened, I'm like up for fucking 3 months.
Sure.
You know, it's just how people kind of perceive things different, you know, and it's just the unfortunate part where, you know, sometimes, you know, I sit there and I'm like, just like, you know, I do have my poor me moments, you know, but I'm just like, dude, like it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. You know, like it was hard being in Afghanistan, having your best friend pass away. And then there's nothing you can do. Cause you know what I'm saying? Like there's not like we couldn't even go to his funeral. His funeral happened when we were still in country.
Right.
So my wife was like, hey, I bought a plane ticket. Like I'm going to be there because I know that's what you would want me to do. And I was like, 100%. Thank you for going. Thank you for being there. Like, but still it was like, you couldn't, like when I got back and I went to El Paso, I met his parents. I met his brother. I went to his grave site and that was it. Like we didn't have time to like, it was like, bro, like I still have to do a job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest thing. And I was, that I had, and I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, babe, she was like, you need to go talk to someone out there. And my kennel master was like, Bear, go talk to somebody. And it was kind of like, I was in that balance where I was like, I'm a fucking Marine. This is our job. This is what we fucking do. It's part, like, we all knew.
We all knew it was a possibility.
We all knew
right?
getting off the bird, it's a possibility, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we just, you're, it's like Russian roulette. You just don't know. It could be anybody. And there still could be more. And there was more injuries, you know, there was more not deaths, but like my unit got fucked up, you know? But just a process like, dude, I couldn't be there for his family at his funeral. What would he, you know? And the only thing that kept playing in my mind was, what would he say? What would he tell me right now? And the only thing that I kept telling myself was, do your job, keep your Marines safe and go home. Do your job. Keep your Marines safe. Go home. Do your job. Keep your Marines. So that was what my driving force was. Luckily, nobody in my platoon ever got hit, and it's kind of, I keep in contact. I don't really talk to them as much, but like we're social media friends with a lot of the guys in the platoon, and I see them married, kids, just enjoying life. Some of them deployed after the fact too, but it's just like I just see in the feed and I see their pictures with their kids, and I'm just like, bro, like, like it's cool, man. Like I hope me and Sam had something to do with that.
Yeah.
And it was cool, man. It was just seeing them grow, seeing their kids get older. And I'm just like, bro, like we didn't have kids, and like our kids are this age now already. It's just like, fuck, it's like going by so fast, and I really, I get some messages sometimes from the guys, and I'm like, bro, like, there was one captain for recon. I can't remember his name, but I remember one time he came up to me and he was just like, hey, come on, like Sam's just a pet, right? And I'm like, no, not really. Like, have any of your Marines stepped on IEDs yet? No, like they haven't, but you keep thinking he's a pet, then that's on you. But the moment, cause dude, the hard part as a K-9 handler, and I have friends that's happened to, where the metal detector guy misses it and steps over it. The dog misses it, steps over it. The handler misses it, steps over it, and the guy behind him hits it. Talk about mental fuck.
That's a lot of guilt.
That's a lot of guilt from everybody, because the metal detector didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
And he stepped over it. Because dude, bro, I'm not gonna lie. There's times where I was on patrol and I'm just walking. I'm walking, and then I would like go take another step, and I would be like, I'm gonna extend that one a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? Not that it was anything there, but it just, something was just like, take one longer step. But no one behind me ever stepped on anything, So seeing these families, seeing these kids, I'm just like, dude, I wish, and again, I was the dumb end. Sam was the workhorse. He's the one fighting this shit.
Yeah.
So I'm always just like, like, I hope he did good. Losing him was rough, dude.
He got to come home with you?
He did. He came home. I was actually at the academy at the time. And I had to ask permission because I was like, hey, I need a day off. And it was like a Friday. So my wife's uncle works for United, and Sam was in Okinawa.
So he wasn't with you from the time you came home?
No, we came home, and then we kind of like, everyone disbanded.
Okay.
Right. So I actually got in trouble when I got back. I got NJP'd.
Imagine my surprise.
Yeah. So yeah, I got NJP'd when I got back from deployment, and I was short timing, dude. I ended up extending. If I never extended to have my daughter in the Marine Corps, I would have never got NJP'd. But I extended 6 months. And so they put me up passing out passes to get on base or whatever. But so Sam, being Okinawa, they send him to Japan. And my buddies were taking pictures. I'm like, oh, here's Sam.
I'm sorry, is he working with somebody else?
So when
during
he went,
this time?
yeah, when he went to Japan, he got a new handler.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the thing with K-9 in the military, if I was his first handler, I'm kind of shit out of luck. Because if I get out and say you're his second, and he's retirement age when you still have him, you get first dibs.
Gotcha.
So I wrote a letter saying, hey, I was his first handler. I know how the system works, but I would love to have him. But I understand if you want to keep him, it is what it is. So he got a new handler in Okinawa. And then I got a call from the congressman, and through my father-in-law's brewery, I met the Melissa Melendrez, the congresswoman out here. She put me in contact with some, I think, Ken Calvert, and then it just kept going up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a call one day and they're like, hey, do you want to adopt Sam? Like, I thought somebody was fucking with me.
Right.
Obviously, you think my answer would be yes. So then I was just kind of like talking to my wife. I'm like, hey, he's a really good dog. He has a new handler. He's going to deploy. Do I want to take him from this handler who I know he's going to keep him safe. I know he's going to keep him safe. I know he's going to keep him safe. And my wife was like, think about him having the same deployment you did. Do you think he'll make it back home? I was like, fuck. You know, so it's kind of like I had to be selfish, man.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I had to be selfish, you know. So I was like, I'll take him. So my wife's uncle, who was a Air Force pilot,
okay,
now working for United, he was like, yeah, dude, we'll fly to Japan and pick him up. I was like, hell
no
yeah.
shit.
And I'm at the academy at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, hell yeah. And obviously, when you come, you know,
yeah.
If I come to ask you a favor for this, odds are it's going to be a yes. Like
100%, dude.
100%, right?
No, so nobody's telling you no on that.
No, not one. Even the person that I thought would say no was just like, bro, yeah, you know? So I was like, thank you. It ended up being he was in North Carolina at training, so I had to find somebody to drive him from Camp Lejeune to Raleigh, which is like, I think, an hour north.
Mm-hmm. And
then United would fly him from Raleigh to LAX. So I just needed a Friday. So I flew to LAX, picked them up. And it was me, my wife, and my oldest daughter. And they wheel him out in this cart. And he's in a kennel. And he's just like, what? You see him. He sees me. He's wagging his tail. Boom, boom, boom.
So he like knew who you are. He was like,
dude,
he
right
was
off
hyped.
the bat. He was just like, I thought he was going to cut his tail on the kennel or whatever, right? And the coolest thing fucking happened, bro. I opened the kennel and I thought he was going to like come to me.
Uh-huh.
He went straight to my daughter.
Oh, shit.
Straight to my daughter.
Wow.
You know? So I had him from 2013 and he passed Veterans Day 2020. Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. He had and it was kind of hard because I had him home for about a year and a half. And he was just like, you could tell he was going through shit. You know, you could tell he was like, you know, are we going back to work? What are we doing here? Like,
that's interesting. Yeah. You know? That's interesting.
Because for him, like I've always said, the military in general across the board, they do a disservice to us when we get out. Because for me, I put it this way: I did 5.5 years. I was in a relationship for 5.5 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, you have your steps and taps, but that doesn't really show you much or anything.
Yeah.
It just says, oh, you can go to school or you can do this, or here's a couple troops to truckers or troops to, you know, big rigs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then boom, you break up and that's it.
That's it.
You know? And then when you're part of something like the Marine Corps, it's something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
When you went to work in the Marine Corps, you knew your job, you knew your rank, you knew your place. No one had to tell you what to do. You know, now you're in the civilian world and you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? That's why I think a lot of people join law enforcement. That's why a lot of structure, you know, the structure's there. And that's why I think a lot of veterans have issues because they get out and it's just like, bam, here's your EOS date, your EAS, and you're done. Here's your paper. Thank you. Goodbye.
It's really interesting. As much as we, and by we I mean me, as much as I hate authority and being told what to do, I thrive in a disciplined structure like that. Like I know my boundaries,
right?
And I know I can fuck around this much,
right?
In between this right boundary and left boundary,
right?
And you step outside of that, and you're fucked,
dude.
But there's a lot of movement in there.
It's a trip to think what I do now, because I would have never. I used to, like, growing up, I hated law enforcement. Yeah. That's why I think I was more towards the fire science. Yeah. I hated cops.
Yeah.
I hate to me, they were just like these arrogant dudes that thought they were better than society. And they just, like their shit didn't stink.
Yeah.
And I hated them, dude. You know what I'm saying? But then when you take a step back, it's like, why did I hate them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they had their shit together and I was a fucking punk. You know what I'm saying? Like
they were getting to cool shit that I couldn't do.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And I always joke around with people. I'm like, hey, you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
And I joke around with people. I'm like, the only difference between you and me is you got caught. It's a joke, but at the same time, it's like when I was a young punk, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just a shithead, dude. Yeah. I needed that structure. The Marine Corps was the first step.
Yeah,
you know, and it was a huge step. And my wife will tell you, dude, it was like night and day. Mm-hmm. Even though I came out of boot camp at 185, and my wife was like, "You need to eat." She was like, "You're too skinny, dude." She was like, "Babe, you're too skinny."
She's a strong woman, man.
Bro, I tell you what, man, that girl, dude.
She's been through some shit, bro.
She has, dude. She has.
I need to get her in here and fucking talk to her and get some stories from her.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, she'd be down, dude.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, man. Like I always tell people, because I joke around too, man. Because again, I was a piece of shit. I was a punk growing up, and people were always like, my brother too. My younger brother was like, "How'd you know she was the one?" And my friends, "How'd you know she was?" And I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, you know what? Like, I was dating her. I was like, she's the first girl that I was dating, and I didn't like I don't want to say cheat, but she's the first girl I dated where I didn't like go out like, oh, let's see what else I can, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
She had all your attention.
She had all my attention. All of it. All of it. She hit all the boxes, she checked everything. And it's kind of it's funny how we met, but it's one of those things where if you would have asked 18, 19, 20-year-old me if I'd be in this spot right now, absolutely not, dude. Nowhere close to. I'm living the dream, bro.
Do you remember what you thought your future was at that age?
Dude, like I said, I wasn't good at school.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to have to either learn a trade or go to the military. It's kind of weird because I look back prior to the Marine Corps and I felt like I was happier then than I am now. Mm-hmm. And it's just like right now it's like, dude, like, well, what made me so happy? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was it that I had prior to the Marine Corps, but like, I don't like myself prior to that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard to pinpoint it because I was a punk then, dude.
Yeah.
Like if I met myself back then, I want to beat myself up.
It's almost like too much freedom, man.
In a way, yeah. Because dude, honestly, and like you hit it on it, like she's been through so much. Dude, she stayed in a relationship with me when I didn't work for like almost a month and a half. She's like, let's go to the movies. I'm like, I don't have money. She's like, I'll pay for it. I'm like, nope. I'm not doing it. Yeah. I'm a man. Like, you ain't going to pay for anything, Yeah. And she stuck around, dude,
But if you had been that other guy who was like letting her pay for shit.
Yeah.
Like would she still be here? Like, probably not,
probably
bro.
Not,
Like you showed her shit.
Yeah.
In those difficult times when you were down and out, that you still had your pride that, I'm a man and that may mean that we don't get to do this shit right now.
Right.
But we're gonna.
Right. And I think that's also a lesson I learned from my dad too, man. Growing up, I'd be like, hey, can I borrow $5? I'd be like, where are you going? Like, movies. Who you going with? Like, my friends. Like, well, who? Like, me, taking this chick Megan out. Like, also just you and a girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Flaco, guapo, goofy.
Yeah, And he was like, so it's just you and a girl. I'm like, yes, Poppy, just me and a girl. He'd be like, and you want $5? He goes, well, how much money you got in your wallet? I'm like, well, when you give me the $5,
I'll have $5.
I'll have $5. You know? He goes, and it's the same thing with him, dude. Even to this day, I'll be like, hey, I'm just gonna go buy something from Sidebar. Give me like $5 and $20.
Yeah.
You know? So he'd be like, you're going to the movies with a girl? I guess. Like, okay. And he would
the tickets are this much.
Dude,
the fucking popcorn is this much. You're gonna have to get some drinks.
Yeah, dude.
You're gonna want to do something after. Like $5 ain't gonna cut it, kid.
He was the one, bro. He was that taught me like all that shit.
Like if you're gonna treat a girl, you fucking
like,
treat a girl.
$60, dude. He goes, she doesn't pay for shit.
Yeah.
You know, and you know it's kind of nice too because even around the house. So when we lived in Baldwin Park, and I was at home with him, you know, there was this one time. So my dad was illegal at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, and now he has his citizenship, but he was illegal at one point. So like it's kind of a funny story, but he managed this apartment complex that we lived in, and my mom was working at the school district. So he's the manager. He'd fix toilets, he'd fix all this stuff. He was like the maintenance guy too. So he had this, like, he was trying to fix a heater, and he had this welding. It was like a weld rod. I just remember it was a piece of metal and a wood handle.
Mm-hmm.
And you plug it in, and it got real hot. And I'm that kid, bro. Like, you know, by the way, I've always wanted to do this. All right. They're real books. They're real books. So me being curious, I grabbed the rod, right? And I remember I just remember grabbing it. And my dad tells me the story. He's like, yeah, he's like, mijo, I was trying to pry your hand, and his fingers were burning.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to pry my fingers off, but he goes, you would not let go of it. And I think I was like 4 or 5 at the time. Probably 4 because I wasn't at school.
Uh-huh.
But my dad was so scared to take me to the hospital because he was legal at the time. So he takes me to the school nurse where my mom was working. And I just remember there's pictures of me when I was little. I have like a sock on. It was like those. It was like a tube sock with the stripes.
Yeah.
You know. So I was just like, oh man, that's classic.
That
you
is
know?
awesome.
But dude, like, I mean, my dad, man, going back to him is just one of those things. You know, I could change a toilet, I could change a faucet, I could change my oil, I could change a tire, I could change everything. I could learn how to drive stick. He never sat down in a car and was like, hey, you hit the clutch. I watched him as a child just sitting in his truck, watching him. Hey, he pushes the clutch in as he's braking, and he goes to first at a red light. Like, he taught me everything I know, you know? And it's kind of weird too, man, because like it kind of came full circle the other day because he came over to my house and he needed his headlight changed out, you know? And my dad's used to like a 67 Camaro, 73 Datsun truck.
No, it's a fucking computer just to change the headlight.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, do you need to download anything?
Right.
Or, you know?
What's the app for my headlight?
Yeah, so I was like, Poppy, like, are you serious? Like, you're asking me?
Yeah.
I was like, you're the one that showed me how to do it.
That's crazy, huh?
You know? So it was like it was a moment where I was like, yeah, you got to twist this off. And so it was pretty cool, man. He's a good dude. Like, he's a good dude. And it was crazy because, like I said, he's 72, 73. And I needed help moving some 90-pound concrete bags the other day. And this motherfucker's just like,
shut up,
picking him up like nothing, bro. And I'm like, I mean, he's going to be a dude that he doesn't have retirement. Yeah. He's going to work till he's, you know, he EOS's. But yeah, but it's, you know, hopefully I get to a point in my life where, you know, maybe me and my brothers could come together and take care of him. But, you know, he's just been one of those dudes that's worked his whole life, you know?
Yeah, so, I mean, if he would even allow that, right?
Right. He'd be like, no, like
fuck you, I'm fine. Know? I don't need to stop working.
Well, I mean, dude, like sometimes, like I've taken vacation from work sometimes, and I'm just sitting there going like, I need to get back to work. You know?
Yeah.
You know,
I don't have that gene, bro.
Yeah, dude. No, dude. Sometimes I'm just like, it's like 10 to 15 days, and I'm just like, I'm just at home like, oh, bro, like, what am I doing? Like, you know, I could have saved this day, or I could have, you know.
Yeah.
I'm at the point right now where it's like memories, spending time with my kids, doing as much as I can with my kids, you know, because that's what the shit they're gonna remember. Yeah. You know, that's the shit I remember. Yeah.
And the shit goes by fast, bro.
Dude, so someone the other day...
They're going to turn 18 like that.
No, dude, trip on this. So the other day, someone's like... It was actually a comedian. I was scrolling through some shit on Instagram. It was a TikTok or whatever. And this comedian brought it up. He goes, hey, parents, do you actually know... Like, and he was serious. He was like, you actually know you only got 18 summers with your kids. 18 summers. And I'm sitting there going... Okay, she's 10.
Yeah.
I have 8. I was like, ooh. I have less summers with her than she's alive.
Yeah.
And that, dude, I was just like, I told my wife, I was like, hey, babe, you know, and that's, I mean, I don't know if you follow, but like we travel a lot. Like we do shit.
Hell
you
yeah,
know,
man.
When I was little, my mom one day, she was like, hey, my friend's selling a pop-up trailer. We went to look at it. And as a child, my imagination as a kid was endless, dude. Like I had the coolest imagination. But I remember I was like, yeah, I'm going to sleep there. My parents were going to sleep there. And I had all these like, these thoughts and dreams of this trailer, but my parents never ended up buying it, you know? So that's kind of like now when me and my wife were like, hey, should we buy this? I'm like, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it. And it was kind of cool because it was prior to COVID.
Yeah.
So when we got our first trailer, because we're on our second one, when we got our first trailer, it was when COVID hit. And that helped tremendously, dude, because it got us out of the house. Kids are making memories. Like, this is what they're going to remember, you know? It's kind of like, that's what I want, you know? What I know when my dad passes, like, I'm going to have such great memories of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes. To the point, and ever since I was little, my dad's always said, hey, when I pass, do not cry for me. He was like, I want you guys to celebrate it. Don't cry for me.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah, you know? I'll probably have some Coronas for him.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, shit, maybe I'll listen to him for the first time in my life, you know?
Probably
but
not.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I want those memories, and I have memories with my parents, and you want to supersede your parent, you know? Yes. You want your kids to do better than you. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like one of those things where bro, I'm living the dream right now, dude. Like I never thought I'd be in this position ever. You know, I thought it'd probably, and nothing against this line of work. And I have friends that are in this line of work and they provide for their families better than me. But I thought I was gonna be like a construction worker, just kind of laying concrete, building some blocks and shit and doing that, you know, where the line of work I'm in now, it's just kind of, I laugh at it because I'm just like, bro, there's thoughts where I might have been on the other side, dude. You know, if I would have gone that line, if my parents would have never moved, if I would have never made this move, if I never would have had, you know, if I would have kept with that mindset, you know what I'm saying? Where it could have gone bad, dude, you know? Yeah. And I think it's the people you meet, the friends you make, you know, it's who you surround yourself with, dude, you know?
Big time. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, I always tell my clients, is what I call them. I always tell them, like, you see me out in town with a bunch of knuckleheads. What do you think of me? You're a knucklehead. Okay. You see me out in town with a bunch of successful people. What do you think of me? You're successful. It's who you hang out with, dude.
Yep. Yeah. You know? I've definitely come to understand and believe that in the last few years. You definitely rise to the level of the company that you keep.
Right. You know?
Yep.
And honestly, like I always tell people, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not successful, hang out with successful people.
Yeah.
Because guess what? They have doors that might open. You know, there's like when I go to Warrior Built, the first time I went, I was intimidated, bro. I was like, these dudes, they had their shit together. You know, and it's just a bunch of Marines, Army, Navy, Air Force. They're just veterans, right? And I walked into their shop and I was just like, bro, like they're sponsored by like all these people, like intimidated.
Yeah.
You know? And every single person there was so welcoming. So they were like, hey, bro, glad you're here. Like, let's hang out. You know,
I'm always so surprised by that, man. Like just how gracious people are. Like in our line of work, you get a very like us versus them mentality.
Right.
And it's super easy. And
it's hard in an alpha male, you know.
That too.
And I'm saying the military is alpha male.
Oh, for sure.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So is law enforcement. But in the military, I think it's a little different because and I'm not saying law enforcement because you care about your brothers and it's the guy to the left and right and you stuff, but it's just, there is a divide.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a little bit. I'm more like my wife called me out the other day. She was just like, have you ever noticed you're more keen to like military members? Mm. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm 100%. 100%, because I always revert back to my time where I didn't like law enforcement, where I despised them. I hated them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I already have that. If I meet someone that works for a different department, I'm just like,
fuck those guys.
Yeah. Fuck the cop, you know? And I'm just like, I don't like them. But if it's like a military guy, I don't care if you were in the Coast Guard, bro. I don't care if you're Navy. I don't care if you're Army. You're my boy, you know? And that's the whole thing too. It's like, I had a great relationship with a guy I used to work with. Moved to Texas. He was like my outlet, dude. He was my outlet. You know, he was a former Marine too. Mm-hmm. Actually, he is a Marine. I hate saying former Marine. Sorry, I take that back. He's a Marine. Pretty much grew up the same way, you know, but like we kind of experienced the same things. He went to Iraq. For me, talking about it makes me feel better. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I don't like talking about like, oh, this and that. I just like talking about like certain experiences, like, hey, this makes me feel better. I'm not all about the, oh, look at my stack. It's not that great.
Yeah.
My military career wasn't that great. You know what I'm saying? It's just when you can relate to certain people.
Sure.
It's fucking cool just to sit here, drink, even not drink, just hang out and just talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, even if you never deployed, even if you never, hey, this is how it goes. You know, it's just getting it off your chest, and that's the issue I think veterans and law enforcement have. You need to get it off your chest, dude.
That's what I found. I was when I was with the department, I was on the peer support team for more than a decade.
Right.
And in the peer support team, in the peer support game, have some more mezcal.
What's that bottle? Are you almost done with?
Almost.
Oh, almost.
Yeah. We call that debriefing, and that the more that you talk about your experiences or traumatic incidences, then the less power they hold over you.
Right.
And so I definitely think that's true. That the more you talk about those things, you're able to take a much more objective view of them, and
100%,
and they tend to elicit a much softer emotional response than they do. Like, you know, you go home today and fucking shoot yourself. Tomorrow I'm going to be fucked up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell that story for 10 years about this podcast that we did. Right. And it's the grief is going to get less and less and less the more times that I relate that story.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it's one of those things too, man. It's with veterans, like I said, when they get out of the military, it's just like it's an abrupt breakup. Mm-hmm. You know, there's not like I always revert back to being 13 years old. What did I look forward to when I was 13? I was like, oh, I just want to hit 16. What did I look forward to when I hit 16? I want to hit 18. Mm-hmm. Then it was 21. After 21, there's not much. Maybe
it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, it's you know, you're just gonna, you know. But it's like maybe graduate college, maybe get a career job, maybe do this, you know. And right now, like I was sitting back the other day, I'm like, dude, what's my goal?
Yeah.
Do I have a goal?
Yeah.
You know, my goal right now, like obviously I got little goals like watching my son play baseball, watching my daughters play soccer, watching my youngest play softball. It's her first team, whatever event. That's what I take pride in, you know. But it's like, what's my goal? What's my end goal? You know, obviously I could be a little more healthier, you know, but that's in the process. That's my mentality has changed within the last 2 weeks. Of my main goal now is to be there for my daughters.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they need me.
Yeah.
Because my biggest fear is for my kids, and my kids' principal probably thinks I'm the biggest weirdo, dude. But like my goal is to be there for my kids when they need me the most.
Yep.
Because my kid's principal, he probably thinks I'm weird, bro. Because one day I saw him, I was like, hey, I know if shit hits the fan at the school because of everything that's happening, I'm like, your first call, 911, you get cops going. I live super close to the school. I was like, can I please be your second call?
Put me on your speed dial. That's
Can I please be your second call? Because I guarantee you I will get here a lot faster than, you know, even though they have a school resource deputy. But I'm just like, bro, like, please call me. Please. You know, I can get here a lot faster. And I have everything I need.
Resources.
Right.
We have resources.
So, but that's one of my, that's another fear, you know, like, you know, going through everything you go through in life and all that. It's a fear, bro. Like, you know, it's an added fear. Like I have fears driving on the freeway sometimes. I don't like driving on the freeway when someone's like right next to me. I either have to slow down or I usually speed up because I'm like, fuck them. I'm winning NASCAR, bro. You know?
Exactly.
You know?
I either drive in the fast lane or the slow lane. So I always have somewhere to go.
Yes.
I don't want people right next to me.
I hate when people go the same speed.
Yes.
Next to next, you know.
Like just speed up or slow down, motherfucker.
Right. So it's just, you know, it's one of those things where, I mean, I've had just nightmares and just thoughts and, you know, unfortunately, you know, when I had my son, this might be a little TMI, but when I was in Afghanistan, I witnessed something, and I had my son, who was my second kid, and I had a dream one night, and I told my wife about the dream, and she was just like, she didn't stop, like, having days off during the week where I can watch him. She was scared for me to watch my own kid. You know what I'm saying? I had a dream one day. I mean, it's not even a dream. It's a fucking nightmare. That I was holding my son by his legs, and I was swinging him, hitting him on the wall. You know, and it's something that I witnessed once. But when it was my own child, like it's hard to swallow. You know,
for sure.
So it was hard to come out to my wife and tell her that because honestly, dude, if we're on a scale, my wife knows probably 60 to 75% of what happened on my deployment. Yeah. And I think that's going to stay that way for the rest of my life.
I think probably
it's unfortunately, it's unfortunate, you know, I'm in other aspects of my life, my wife knows everything. 100%. And when I first got back, even with my brothers, I was kind of like, hey, if you have any questions, ask, but I probably won't say anything later on in life. Ask now and we'll talk about it.
They shouldn't have to bear those burdens.
They shouldn't, but maybe it's like the curiosity. Because if like my younger brother or older brother deployed, I would have certain questions.
Oh, sure.
You know,
I mean, if you've never experienced that, you want to know about that.
You know, and there was videos and things like that. And unfortunately, maybe I shouldn't say unfortunately, maybe I should say fortunately, when I was in trouble before I got out of the Marine Corps, I was on restriction. So I had my hard drive. So what was cool about leaving the recon unit is the lieutenant for the recon unit, great guy. I wish I could find it. If he's out there, Lieutenant Lamb, if you're out there, hit me up, hit this podcast up, whatever. Find him. But he told his Marines, like he was like, hey, I'm going to go through your hard drives because the Marine Corps says you can't have certain videos. So he went through all his Marines' hard drives and made sure they didn't have videos of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't go through mine because I wasn't part of the unit. I was just attached.
Mm-hmm.
So all the guys were putting their shit on
So not only do you have yours, you got all these other guys' shit also.
But so they were putting all their shit on my hard drive. So then when we got back to Leatherneck, I was like, "Hey, come to the kennels. I got some Jack Daniels. I got some cigars. I got hookah, whatever, you know." And they left before I did, but we were like, "Hey, this is your file. Put it back on your hard drive, and you're done." You know. But then when I was on restriction before I got out of the Marine Corps, I remember, you know, you have to go check in with the OOD every like 3 hours or whatever. Yeah. I remember I was watching a movie on my laptop with that hard drive. Put my laptop down, closed it, went to go check in, came back, turned it back on, and it was like hard drive not found. I was like, what the fuck? Took it out, plugged it back in. I was like, oh, whatever. It was like hard drive not found. So I was like, dude, what the fuck? I was like, this is the hard drive that has all my shit. Mm-hmm. I had other like videos on other things or whatever, but that had all the good shit. Yeah. You know, so it was kind of, I got some of the videos back talking to them on social media, and they would email me some stuff and pictures of Sam and all that stuff. But yeah. It was definitely, I even took it to a professional, and they were like, hey man, this needs a clean room. And it was like, they were like, if we can pull everything off of it, because it was a terabyte.
Yeah.
There was
like thousands of dollars.
They were like, dude, if we pull everything off, it's going to be about $1,400. And then they were like, obviously, if I can only pull half of it out, it'll be like $700. Yeah. But I was just like, dude, like, is it even worth it? Yeah. You know, like,
some things are just better.
Some things
maybe God was telling you it was time to let some stuff go.
Yeah, man, and dude, that's 100%, dude, 100%. Because it was like, I remember the file. It was labeled a good day. It was labeled a good day, and it was, you know,
not really a good day.
I used to tell people, I'm like, dude, I had the best summer camping trip in 2011. Yeah. But it was absolutely the worst. You know, I wrote an article against, like, I really didn't want to write it, but I wrote an article in the Silver Star, you know, and the response I got from it, dude, from retired, you know, deputies and just active deputies. And it was just like, bro, like, thank you. Like, dude, like, that was cool, man. Like, I opened up, and I always tell people, I'm like, dude, if a guy like me can open up, you know, and it's kind of funny because I talked to our sheriff, and I always joke around like we're on a first name basis.
Really?
Kind of in an email we are, but
I'd be interested to know how that came about offline.
Dude, it was totally
offline.
Yeah, it was totally cool, man.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, no, I won't. It was totally cool, but like I have so many ideas, and I had one idea, but it was shot down because, you know, politics. But I just have so many ideas that could help law enforcement, dude. I have so many ideas. It just sucks because, like, I'm not, you know, like going back to horse therapy, you know, there's a great place down in San Diego County that does horse therapy. Great place. I've never checked them out, but it's kind of mimics the place I was doing up in Norco. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where I was actually learning to rope, like learning to do horse roping. Yeehaw. Bro, I saw videos before I even tried it. I was like, bro, you're on a horse and you throw a rope on a fucking calf. Like, how hard is that? Right. Bro, hey.
Let me tell you.
Bro, hey, I'll tell you what, dude. I couldn't even throw the goddamn rope on a stagnant fake calf.
Right.
Just standing here.
Right.
My dude, my wrist doesn't doesn't move a certain way. And he was like, you thought this was gonna be easy, dude? Like, imagine doing it on a horse.
Yeah.
And that's where I go back to being on a motorcycle and a horse. Mm-hmm. That's where I get my therapy, because a horse would kill me, bro, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I did this, I always joke around, I did this Yellowstone fucking like day with the ranch. COVID killed this ranch, but it was such a great ranch for veterans, and they invited me, and I was so honored to go. And it was like this ranch, and they were trying to get all the cows to castrate and brand them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there, I was like, dude, like I'm on horseback. I'm like, I'm doing this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm like, this is fucking cool. And then the head ladies, she was born on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
So she and her horse take off. My horse belongs to her. So my horse sees her take off.
Where's mama going?
So, bro, my horse takes off, and I'm just like, okay, like I got this. Like I know, like natural on a horse, right? They're always like, hey, Bear, like you look natural on there, but I'm just in a pen, just kind of prancing around. And this horse goes full 100% speed. I'm holding on to the saddle. I'm like, I'm gonna fall off this bitch. But I was just like, whoa, dude, like, whoa. But, he ended up slowing down, thank God. But I was just like, dude, how cool is this? Like, we're herding cattle. Like, I'm on horseback. Like,
yeah,
dude, it was like, honestly, like, horse, or they call it equine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal. Warrior Built started equine therapy in Arizona because the president lives in Arizona.
Okay.
I wish they would start it out here, but they're starting it out there. And I'm like, bro, like if I had the funds, I'd buy land and I would just be like, hey, all veterans, I know Montana has this like great program called Heroes for Horses. Mm-hmm. And they do like a 3 or 4 week program where you go out there and you live the cowboy life.
Mm-hmm.
Like they give you a horse, they give you supplies, and you figure it the fuck out, and I'm just like, I wish I had the time to like do that one.
Yeah.
But it was just like, bro, like, recently I'm just kind of like, how can I help? How can I be of service to other people? How can I be a better person? And that's what I try to teach my kids. Like, how can you be a better teammate? Even if you make mistakes, even if your teammate's not that great, be a better person, be a better teammate. Just be like, hey, I know you want to tell them like, oh, dude, you should have had that,
Yeah.
But instead of that, why don't you go, hey, get it next time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like my son just played in a final. He was the undefeated team on Saturday. So the team that they played had to beat him twice to win the championship, and the team beat him twice. I wanted it so bad for my son because earlier he had wrote a poem about, I want to play baseball. I want to be on the all-star team. I want to win a championship. I wanted it so bad for him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when he lost, I was like, he's going to take more from this and he's going to want it more.
Yeah.
He's going to work harder for it more.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, in a way, I'm kind of glad he lost, because all my losses have just made me better.
100%.
100%, dude, but
bro,
what is this?
We've been at this
3
for almost 4 hours, dude.
No way.
Almost 4 hours. 3.5 hours.
I can keep going, bro. I talk, bro.
Dude.
This call's good.
We will have to do this again.
Yeah, we will.
100%.
Yeah. 100%, dude.
I really appreciate you coming, dude. It's been great to see you.
Anytime, bro. It's always good to see you, dude.
Yeah, man.
And the white beard,
Yeah, man.
If I took my hat off, I'd be bald just like you. So
that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I know it was a pleasure. It's always good to get those stories off my chest.
Yeah, for sure. And we got a lot more. We got a whole lot more to cover, bro.
Oh, dude.
We got all kinds of bullshit to talk about.
Tons, dude. Like Bud Light.
Yeah, man. All right, dude. We'll do it again soon. All right, everybody.
Rock on.
Peace.